But thinking about what happened today outside the dorm building, and seeing how Su Wanli treated me, my chest couldn't stop aching. He stared blankly at Su Wanli and asked with difficulty, "The post in your moments, is it true?" "It is," Su Wanli answered without a second of hesitation. "Why?" Su Wanli's eyes were filled with confusion. "Why him?" Song Jingni pressed on. Su Wanli replied impatiently, "Does it have anything to do with you?" Seeing how indifferent she was, Song Jingnian was desperate. "We've known each other since childhood. I've liked you since we were little. Su Wanli, don't tell me you didn't know. And don't forget, our parents also had an agreement." "I think there's something I need to make clear to you." Su Wanli turned around for once to formally face Song Jingnian. But seeing her like this made him even more anxious. When he realized what Su Wanli was about to say, and tried to stop her, it was already too late. "Song Jingnian, other than living under the same roof, we have no other connection. That agreement between our parents you speak of was personally broken by you 3 years ago. Right now, you have no standing to question me about anything. Neither the Su family nor I owe you anything." Su Wanli's words made Song Jingnian take a half step back. The affection on his face turned into embarrassment. Song Jingnian couldn't find anything to say in return. He could only stare fixedly at the person before him. No one spoke a word. At that moment, Su Wanli's phone rang. She opened it right in front of Song Jingnian. It was a voice message from me checking in. Just 2 short words. The crisp sound broke the silence. "Just came out of the house, heading back to school. Do you want a late-night snack?" Su Wanli typed casually. Replying to my message, "I remember there's a good grilled meat place." "All right then, since you're recommending it so strongly. Then I guess I'll reluctantly eat a little. Slightly spicy, with lots of cilantro. Thanks." At that moment, my voice was like sharp blades, piercing into Song Jingnian's heart. Su Wanli looked at him coldly and spoke. "If you have nothing going on lately, just stay at school. Don't run around." With that, she turned and got in the car, not giving Song Jingnian a chance to respond. In the night, Song Jingnian stood in place like a wooden post, eyes fixed on Su Wanli, watching the direction she drove away, even though there was already nothing there. Madame Su stood at the second-floor window, watching Song Jingnian with a serious expression. The scene of him stopping Su Wanli just now was all clearly seen by her. This Song Jingnian really doesn't know his place. "Call him in," she said coldly. Madame Su's voice carried a hint of anger as she spoke to the butler beside her. "Yes, ma'am. I'll go now," the butler replied, and turned to go downstairs. Before long, Song Jingnian was brought into the living room. "Grandma, you wanted to see me." At this moment, the expression on Song Jingnian's face had become more subdued. With hands clasped in front of him and eyes lowered, he had no idea that Madame Su had already seen through his feigned obedience. She just couldn't be bothered to expose it. Madame Su was feeding the turtles in the tank. Not even looking up as she asked, "You're 19 this year, right?" "Yes, my birthday is next month." "Then as agreed, you're supposed to leave the Su house when you turn 19. At those words, Song Jingnian suddenly looked up, his eyes filled with unease. "Grandma, are you kicking me out?" Madame Su finally looked up. Her aged eyes were filled with authority, completely different from the gentleness she showed me. Song Jingnian turned pale, not daring to meet her gaze. Madame Su tossed down the tweezers in her hand and sat down on the nearby sofa. Her tone grew even colder. "After living in the Su house for a few years, you really think of yourself as a Su family member?" Song Jingnian kept his head down, not daring to reply, but Madame Su wasn't ready to let it go. She continued, "Your parents did indeed have an agreement with Wanli's parents back then, but those are things of the past and not worth mentioning anymore. 3 years ago, your second uncle gave you a choice through Zhaojing. 3 million or that marriage agreement. You haven't forgotten which you chose, have you?" Hearing this, Song Jingnian turned even paler. Besides the Su family and him, no one knew that before me. He was the one engaged to Su Wanli. But he destroyed all of that himself. Back then, Song Jingnian never imagined someone like me would appear. He was simply too confident, thinking that even without the engagement, he could still make Su Wanli fall in love with him. Yet not long after he made that decision, Madame Su personally decided to arrange an engagement between Su Wanli and me. Seeing that Song Jingnian remained silent, Madame Su didn't bother wasting more words. She waved her hand, issuing a final order. The next month it is. Once your birthday passes, move out of the Su house. With that, Madame Su stood up and went upstairs to rest. Song Jingnian didn't dare say a word the entire time, but deep down, he was full of resentment toward the old lady. Once the living room was empty, he slowly raised his head. His eyes were dark and sinister, as if he had made some kind of decision inside. Song Jingnian gave one last look toward the stairs, and finally left. Upstairs, the butler brought a cup of calming tea to Madame Su. He asked with concern, "Madam, was it really appropriate to kick him out so directly? I know it wasn't ideal, but letting him stay in the Su house would be worse. Are you concerned about young Master Zhao?" The butler asked. She shook her head. With a deep sigh, she said, "Yichin is the least of my worries. What I'm concerned about is Wanli." Meanwhile, under the school dormitory pavilion, I frowned and said, "I don't eat scallions. I only eat cilantro. Why did you still add so much? Pick it out or I'll get mad." After saying that, I crossed my arms and glared angrily, but inside, I was feeling smug. "Su Wanli, I want to see how long you can endure. Then eat the meat pie first," she said gently as she handed me the pie. Then she seriously started picking out the scallions from the bowl, holding the meat pie in my hand. I frowned and looked at Su Wanli speechlessly. Are rich kids always this emotionally stable? At this rate, I'll never finish my mission even by the next century. At this pace, how can I ever complete my task? Why is this 3% hatred target so hard to achieve? It shouldn't be like this. Where did I go wrong? Su Wanli kept picking out the scallions, while quietly listening to my mumbling. There was a hint of indulgence hidden in her eyes. Originally, her only intention was to dig out my secret, which is why she agreed to go along with my act. It was all just a performance, but after spending some time with me, Su Wanli realized I wasn't as annoying as I seemed at first glance. In fact, the contrast in my behavior made me unexpectedly cute. "I'm starving. Can you hurry up?" I decided to keep trying harder. "Almost done. Just hold on a bit more." In just a short while, she had picked out every last bit of scallion from the bowl. Even when I stirred with my chopsticks, trying to find a trace of it, there was nothing left. Su Wanli. I finished the food in big frustrated bites. Then I stood up from the mess-covered table and stormed off with an angry, "I'm going to bed." Then I turned around and ran back to the dorm. Running the whole way, I grumbled to myself, "No, this won't do. Given the current situation, I need to change strategies. My retirement life. My 30 billion. Su Wanli stayed behind, cleaning up the trash on the table. Hearing my whining, she couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. She threw away the trash and wiped her hands with a wet tissue, smiling as she looked toward the dorm, then softly said, 30 billion da. So that's your mission reward. Meanwhile, after leaving the Su family, Song Jingnian went straight to a residential complex. This was the place he bought with part of the 30 million yuan he received after leaving the Su family. Song Jingnian rarely returned here, because his second uncle, Song Zhaojian, lived here. Song Zhaojian was 48 years old. He was spoiled as a child and grew up lazy. Now at his age, he was still idle and gluttonous, spending all day immersed in online games. Ever since Song Jingnian's parents passed away, the Song family lost its financial pillar. With the second uncle being useless, he literally angered the elderly to death. Then he came looking for Jingnian, who was fostered by the Su family. Song Zhaojin's reappearance became a key turning point in Song Jingnian's fate. Just like Su Wanli, Song Jingnian's parents were also special forces officers. They spent most of their lives on classified missions, and his parents died during an anti-terrorism operation. Before they passed, they entrusted their young son to the Su couple, who were close friends and comrades. That's how he ended up being raised by the Su family until adulthood. But after Song Zhaojian angered the elders to death, he had nowhere else to go and found Jingnian again, then persuaded him to give up the engagement with Su Wanli. and instead take his parents' compensation. After getting 30 million from the Su family, Song Zhaojin went back to his lazy, indulgent lifestyle. Meanwhile, the Su family kept their promise and let Song Jingnian stay until he turned 19. Go. Left side. There's one peeking out on the left. Song Jingnian's thoughts were interrupted by Song Zhaojin's voice. He pushed the door open and walked in, seeing the dimly lit room, where his second uncle sat in front of a computer playing a game. He groped around and found the light switch on the wall. The moment the light came on, Song Jingnian trembled with anger at the sight before him. The large living room was piled high with garbage and takeout boxes. The air was filled with a stench of rotting food. As the light turned on, Song Zhaojin also noticed his arrival. He just glanced at him briefly and then resumed playing his game. Without looking back, he said, "Jingnian, you're back. So, how's it going with Su Wanli? Are things progressing? Has she mentioned a wedding date yet? If not, just drug her and make it a done deal. As long as you marry her, I can live a comfortable life for the rest of my days." Song Zhaojin's words ignited Song Jingnian's rage. He grabbed trash from the floor and hurled it at Song Zhaojin. All the grievances from the Su household exploded at once. He shouted, "Why don't you just die? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been kicked out by the Su family." The stinking trash hit Song Zhaojin squarely, and he instantly blew up. He slammed his mouse down and charged towards Song Jingnian. He glared at him with malicious fury and slapped him across the face. The sound of the slap rang out clearly. Song Jingnian staggered from the blow, his head spinning. Song Zhaojin gritted his teeth and yelled, "You useless brat. You can't even handle a woman, and you're throwing a tantrum here. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't even have gotten your parents' pension. The Su family would have taken it all, and now, you don't even thank me. You blame me instead." Song Jingnian covered his face and looked up, his eyes filled with resentment as he stared at his second uncle. Song Zhaojin cursed, "What the hell are you looking at? Instead of lashing out at me, you should be thinking about how to cling to that cash cow, Su Wanli. There's barely anything left of your parents' compensation. If you don't want to end up on the streets, you better act fast." Song Jingnian's eyes widened, and he said in disbelief, $30 million? You've spent it all already. It hasn't even been that long. That was my parents' compensation, not yours. As soon as he finished speaking, a second slap landed on his face. "Your parents were my older brother and sister-in-law. Their compensation belongs to me, you little brat. What right do you have to that money?" Song Jingnian bit his lip hard. The resentment he had built up toward his uncle finally exploded. "What's mine is mine. Give me back the money. Do you hear me? This house was bought by me too. You have no right to live here. Get out, out," he shouted, swinging his arms and grabbing at Song Zhaojin. But the next second, Song Zhaojin grabbed him by the hair and slammed him against the wall. "You little brat. You want another beating, huh?" Song Zhaojin was about to teach him a lesson, grabbing a stick and raising it to strike his head. Song Jingnian was truly terrified. He struggled desperately to break free. Suddenly, a series of loud, frantic knocks on the door interrupted Song Zhaojin's next move. "What the hell is all this noise? It's the middle of the night. Have some decency, will you?" A furious voice shouted from outside the door. Song Jingnian took the chance to break free from Song Zhaojin's grip. He quickly composed himself and opened the door. "Sorry. We'll keep it down. You better. If it happens again, I'm calling the cops." "Understood. We'll be careful." In his heart, Song Jingnian was deeply grateful to the neighbor who knocked. If not for him, he might have been severely beaten by his uncle. So even in the face of the man's scolding, he didn't feel the least bit angry. As soon as the man left, Song Jingnian immediately walked out. He didn't give Song Zhaojin another chance to lash out. Inside, Song Zhaojin looked a little disappointed, but he also regained some composure. Crossing his arms, he looked at him with a smug smile. Song Jingnian was furious. "You beast," he cursed with a hoarse voice. But Song Zhaojin just smiled indifferently. Seeing that, Song Jingnian didn't dare linger any longer. He turned and fled. He ran out of the complex in one breath, only to realize it had started to drizzle. Thinking back to the frightening encounter, and to how cold Su Wanli had been toward him that evening, A wave of hatred surged in Song Jingnian's heart. Zhao Yichen, why did you show up and ruin everything for me? If it weren't for you, I could have stayed with the Su family forever. That day, after my last class, I packed a few things in the dorm and planned to head home for the weekend. I was going back to make myself visible in front of the Zhao family. As soon as I came downstairs, I saw Su Wanli already waiting by the roadside. At the same time, I heard the voices of Li Yaochuan and Song Jingnian behind me. I turned and saw a haggard-looking Song Jingnian. His eyes narrowed tightly. He looked so worn out. Even I couldn't help but pity him. It made sense that Su Wanli would follow him to the crematorium later. He looked truly pitiful now. Yet Su Wanli didn't seem to care at all. Not even the slightest bit. Su Wanli walked toward me and heard me saying some nonsense again. She didn't even glance at Song Jingnian. She came straight to me. Let's go. I'll take you home first. Song Jingnian looked up at that moment too. His eyes towards Su Wanli, filled with grievance and sorrow. My eyes shifted, and I was just about to say something. But Su Wanli had already predicted my move and reached out to pull me away. The ice cream I bought for you is about to melt. Just like that, my attention was instantly diverted. But she still had that spoiled attitude. If it's used up, just buy me a new one. This is your test to be my girlfriend. Su Wanli smiled slightly and said, I'll buy you a new one. Song Jingnian listened to their conversation. The last bit of hope in his eyes faded. A sharp glint flashed in his eyes. He said to Li Yaochuan beside him, Yaochuan, can you help me? Song Jingnian kept watching Su Wanli's car drive away. He had already made up his mind deep down. At all costs, he would snatch him back from Zhao Yichen no matter what. Especially after what happened last night. He must escape from Song Zhao Jingnian. How do you want me to help? Li Yaochuan had always been Song Jingnian's sidekick. Song Jingnian concealed the darkness in his eyes. He grabbed Li Yaochuan's hand and said, I remember you once mentioned. You know, a big brother from the underworld. Li Yaochuan's gaze flickered. The two exchanged a glance and instantly understood each other. Meanwhile, Su Wanli dropped me off at the Zhao family's doorstep. She originally wanted to come in and greet Zhao's parents, but I blocked her. At the door, you should go back now, I said. It's getting late. I thought having you here would affect my performance. Su Wanli looked at me calmly for a few seconds, then turned away, seeing the Zhao family members already waiting inside. At a glance, it seemed that everyone was present except Zhao Yunin, who was filming. Everyone else was there. According to the task mentioned in Zhao Yichen's rebirth, the entire Zhao family was part of his mission. How could I miss such a dramatic scene? Su Wanli completely ignored my screaming inner voice. She turned off the car and stepped over the center console with her long legs, then got out from the passenger side. Her move stunned me completely. Su Wanli walked over with a smile and said, Let's go. I glared at her with annoyance and disdain, then walked ahead of her. At that moment, a few people in the living room, Zhao family members who had craned their necks to look outside, saw Su Wanli and me entering together. Each of them exchanged a knowing glance. As I stepped into the living room with a light stride, I saw that aside from Zhao father and mother, all three older sisters were also present. I thought to myself, why is everyone here? Don't you all have jobs? Why do none of you have the awareness of a working person? When Yin Zhao Qingyun looked at me gently. Little brother's back. I heard you be back this weekend, so I purposely postponed work to spend time with you, said eldest sister. I twitched the corner of my mouth, almost forgetting that Zhao Qingyun was the boss herself, but I quickly put on an innocent smile. What I said next, though, hit Zhao Qingyun right in her sore spot. Your company works on weekends. Your employees must be so pitiful, not even having time to spend with family. How could you do that, sis? Now, it was Zhao Qingyun's turn to be speechless, worried that if she didn't explain soon, she'd be branded a heartless capitalist. Zhao Qingyun quickly said, Of course not. The company follows a today weekend policy. I'm the only one working overtime. I continued to dig, saying, That's so tragic for you, sis. The employees finish their work during office hours, yet you still have to work overtime. No matter how you explain it, it sounds bad. Zhao Qingyun chose to stay silent. Beside her, Zhao Jingyi watched the drama unfold. Just as she was glad she hadn't provoked me, I suddenly spoke up. Third sister, has that case you worked on been solved yet? I looked sincerely at Zhao Jingyi and asked, with Zhao Qingyun's experience as a cautionary tale. Zhao Jingyi answered more cautiously, it's almost wrapped up. She thought that with this answer, I wouldn't find anything to criticize. But the next second, I said, third sister, how irresponsible of you. How could you leave your post at such a critical moment? Zhao Jingyi thought, even this can be criticized. She hadn't even said much yet. I continued, as a forensic doctor, you should treat your workplace like your home. And always be on standby. Zhao Jingyi opened her mouth to speak, but caught sight of Zhao Qingyun's gloating expression. She also chose to stay silent. With the example of those two, Father Zhao hurriedly picked up the newspaper, pretending to avoid eye contact with me. Mother Zhao stirred the bird's nest in the crystal bowl, lowering her eyes, not looking at me. Zhao Ruoyo kept her head down, glued to her phone the whole time. The atmosphere turned awkward. I also noticed something was off with these people. My gaze swept back and forth over them. There's definitely something fishy going on. Why do they all look guiltier than me? Old Zhao even held the newspaper upside down. Mrs. Zhao stirred the bird's nest until it was almost mush. And as for Zhao Ruoyo, her phone screen wasn't even on. The atmosphere in the living room became unbearably awkward. Su Wanli, who had been silently standing by my side, saw how tense it was and finally spoke up. Uncle Zhao, Annie Zhao. Father Zhao immediately looked at Su Wanli with gratitude. With enthusiasm he said, I was so focused on talking to Yichen just now. I almost forgot you were here too. Come sit down. I'll have someone make tea for you. Mother Zhao chimed in as well. Wanli doesn't come by often. We didn't get the chance to host you properly last time. Stay for dinner today, okay? Su Wanli glanced at me, then nodded and said, then I'll take you up on that. Mother Zhao replied, you're not imposing. Watching how fast their expressions changed, I curled my lips in boredom. I'll go upstairs to change first. As soon as I went upstairs, everyone in the living room let out a collective sigh of relief. Immediately after, all of them turned their attention to Su Wanli. Father Zhao looked at Su Wanli with a bit of concern. Wanli, are you here this time to call off the engagement? Mother Zhao quickly followed up. Did Yichen cause trouble again? Before Su Wanli could answer, Zhao Jingyi interjected. It's better if you break it off. You're the heir to the Su family, and outstanding in every way. Although marrying into the Su family benefits us, just thinking of you being ruined by Zhao Yichen is such a loss. Su Wanli silently listened to what they said. She suddenly understood why every time something happened, Zhao Yichen never explained himself, aside from his so-called mission. He seemed to have already lost trust in the Zhao family, because in their eyes, he was always the one at fault. At this thought, Su Wanli's expression darkened slightly. She said, I came back with Zhao Yichen. I'm not here to break off the engagement, and he didn't cause any trouble. Really, said Father Zhao, uncertain because not long ago, Su Wanli had already expressed her intent to cancel the engagement to Madame Su. Why the sudden change? Wanli, although this marriage was arranged by the old madam, as elders, we know very well what kind of person he truly is. To be honest, marrying you to him really wrongs you. If you truly don't want it, Uncle will personally visit Madame Su another day to talk things through about the two of you. Just as I came downstairs, I overheard the family talking bad about me. Alright, so when I'm not around, you all talk behind my back, huh? Like I actually care about him that much. Once I finish my mission, I'll go find 10 beautiful girls, 8 or 10, whatever. Su Wanli silently raised her eyebrows slightly. A flicker of an unreadable glint flashed in her dark eyes. Whether he'll have that chance depends on fate. The people in the living room, upon hearing my inner thoughts, immediately shut their mouths. Father Zhao even let out a guilty cough. His eyes shifted awkwardly to the side. Then came the sound of my footsteps downstairs. Since everyone's here, might as well settle it all at once. Before they even had time to process what my inner voice meant, I got straight to the point. Big sister, there's something I need you to stand up for me about. Zhao Jingyan felt a twinge of unease inside, but outwardly still forced a calm demeanor. What's wrong? Were you bullied at school? But I turned my head and looked at Mother Zhao to complain. That night, I went to the hospital to change the cast on my arm. Didn't I just happen to run into you with your male secretary? Then someone took a photo of me with you and posted it online, spreading rumors. saying I took you to get an abortion. That alone was bad enough. Then Mom somehow found out about it. She didn't recognize it was you in the photo, and on top of that, right in front of Grandma Sue. Without clarifying anything, she made me kneel down. At this point, I pretended to tear up and continued pouring it out. I know you all don't like me. You think I'm not as smart as my sisters, but this is too much. I've kept this inside for days. Every night I've been too upset to sleep. Of course, Sue Wanli knew that 90% of what I was doing was acting. But to cooperate, she still comforted me gently. Meanwhile, Zhao Qingyun was holding her forehead in frustration. She never expected, I would say in front of the whole family, that she went to the hospital late at night with her male secretary. If you're going to tattle, did you really need to be so detailed? Sure enough, Father and Mother Zhao, along with the other two sisters, were all looking over with gossip-filled eyes, under their scrutinizing stares. She braced herself and said, I already explained it to Mom. I looked at her with the wrong expression. So, you explained it to Mom. But what about me? Do I deserve to be scolded and misunderstood? Everyone else turned to look at Mother Zhao in unison. Zhao Qingyun looked at me in distress. She wanted to hear something from my thoughts. But at this moment, I was strangely quiet. So, what do you want? Zhao Qingyun had no choice but to ask me. I firmly said, apologize to me. But deep down, I thought, Lady Yuan has such a high ego. She's been married to Dad for so many years, and even when she was clearly wrong during arguments, she never bowed her head. Now I'm asking her to apologize to her own daughter? That's probably harder than killing her. Hey, with this move, Lady Yuan will definitely be furious out of shame. Sure enough, Mother Zhao's face immediately darkened. Even Father Zhao beside her realized something was wrong. You want me to apologize to you? Mother Zhao's tone carried indignation. At this point, she no longer cared about my inner thoughts. The way she looked at me was filled with resistance. And that's exactly the effect I wanted. So I kept pouring oil on the fire. When you do something wrong, you apologize. Such a simple truth, don't you understand, Mom? My words nearly made Mother Zhao explode with anger. You've really got nerve, huh? I said just one sentence to you as your mother. And now you're demanding I apologize. Why don't you mention all the trouble you caused before? Did you ever apologize for those? And now you think you're qualified to lecture me? Mother Zhao was clearly furious. She completely threw aside the prior agreement with the family and just started scolding me. The angrier she got, the more thrilled I became, seeing that the atmosphere was exactly where I wanted it. I pushed Sue Wanli aside. I'm disappointed in all of you two. If I had known coming back would be like this, I might as well have died in that mountain village. A chill flashed in my eyes. My heart went cold. When I was a kid, because of your neglect, I was kidnapped by traffickers, then sold to some remote mountain area, raised and used like a slave from childhood. Do you know how cold mountain nights are in the winter? Just for stealing half a bun to eat, I was forced to kneel in the yard. I almost froze to death. My adoptive parents wouldn't let me go to school, wouldn't let me into the city, wouldn't give me any chance to connect with the outside world. No communication at all. I knew exactly where it hurt the most to be whipped with bamboo sticks. I knew what wild fruits grew in what seasons in the mountains, so that when there was no food, I wouldn't starve to death. And these people, after bringing me home, expected me to be just like those who had received a good education since childhood, those privileged young masters. That's just wishful thinking. They all thought the things I did were shameful, but in my eyes, only by fighting hard for it could I get what I truly wanted. Just like when I was a kid, only by working hard could I earn a meal. Maybe you never thought, coming home to your biological parents, you'd finally be free from fear and anxiety. But in the end, your eyes turn colder and colder, even disgusted. If you didn't love me, why did you bring me back at all? I looked coldly at the Zhao family in front of me, mocking their hypocritical expressions. It was truly disgusting. These grievances were the lingering obsessions of the original soul. When I finished speaking, the jade piece that had always lingered in my chest slowly faded away. I breathed slightly, waiting for the Zhao family's response. Little did I know that the words I had just said were like thunder in the ears of the Zhao family. They knew Zhao Yichen didn't have a good life in the mountains, because the family who bought him was poor. They thought life was just a bit harder, but never imagined it was like that after bringing him back. I had never once mentioned my past experiences to them, now that they knew how terrible my childhood was. Even Mother Zhao, who had been furious earlier, had her anger melt away in an instant. What replaced it was a deep sorrow. How could she not love her own child? She just didn't know how to love a child who hadn't grown up by her side. She wanted him to be excellent but lamented his mediocrity. Over and over again, Mother Zhao no longer knew how to handle this mother-son relationship. Father Zhao and the other sisters fell into silence. Even Su Wanli by the side looked at me with a complicated expression. Come on, not this again. Can't you all say something? You're making this really hard for me. I really don't want to do this batch of tasks at all. I'm still waiting for the task progress. Little did I know that my words were like a bucket of cold water poured over the Zhao family. Everyone immediately calmed down. I'm sorry. A voice of apology echoed in the dead silent living room, except for Su Wanli. Everyone else looked in disbelief at the person who spoke. Zhao Mu, who had been strong all her life, used up all her courage to say those 3 words. Zhao Mu stood where she was. The anger in her had long dissipated, replaced by guilt. I really didn't expect Zhao Mu would apologize. I pursed my lips and silently turned to go upstairs. The sound of footsteps upstairs was like they were going to crush the floor. Only when I returned to the room did the sound fade. The awkward atmosphere continued in the living room. Su Wanlin quietly remembered the things I had just said. A moment later, she also found a reason to leave. At the same time, upstairs in the room, after I returned to the bedroom, I immediately hugged the pillow and started yelling. Damn it, Zhaolin. Come out and explain why they won't accept the setting. How am I supposed to carry out the mission like this? The system trembled in fear, not daring to make a sound. After crying out for a while and getting no response, my expression darkened. So, you're going to stay silent? Fine, then no one's doing this task anymore. Screw it. I don't even want that 30 billion. I'll just delete the file and restart. After saying that, I climbed up on the windowsill. Don't be impulsive. 2 voices cried out at the same time. One was the system Xiaoming in my mind. The other was a servant who came upstairs to call me for dinner. Don't come any closer. I clung to the window frame and shouted. Right now, I'm in no mood to deal with the servant. What I want is to figure out why the Zhao family and Su Wanli are so different from what I learned about their roles in the original novel. The servant was so scared by me that she quickly leaned against the wall. She didn't dare take a single step forward or answer my question. I was still keeping the posture of someone about to jump, as if to say, if the system won't explain clearly, I'll just jump. The system panicked and shouted urgently. Host, please don't get emotional. Are you going to talk or not? I shifted slightly. Ever since I came into this world, I've always had a suspicion that this wasn't just some accident, because the task I was bound to was completely different from any I had encountered before. But I turned a blind eye to it because of the reward. I chose to ignore it. The system spun in anxiety, not knowing how to respond, because it couldn't just tell me outright that this mission was bound to me without permission. It's not that I won't say it. I just truly don't know how to explain. The system whimpered, but I was unmoved. Even colder now then, don't ever say it. Fine. I turned around, ready to jump down. At the critical moment, Zhao Yichen, Su Wanli's voice came from behind him. The Zhao family members also followed along, each one looking nervously toward me. I was stunned. Yichen, don't do anything rash. Mom knows she was bad to you before. It won't happen again. Please come down, okay? Mother spoke sincerely. Father Zhao also looked extremely anxious. Yichen, be good. Come down first. From now on, whatever you do, Mom, Dad, and your sisters will support you. Zhao Jingyan and the other 2 sisters remained relatively calm. The 3 of them quickly assessed my current position, then exchanged a glance with one another. They quietly turned and walked into the next room. Su Wanli slowly walked inside. The black cat stared at me closely. Her voice was gentle. Zhao Yichen, if something's wrong, come down and talk to me. Don't do anything to hurt yourself. I was speechless inside. I originally just wanted to scare the system, try to get some useful info out of it. Now I was left awkwardly unable to back down. If I said I climbed up to enjoy the view, would they believe me? Please, just go away already. Otherwise, I'll look really awkward here. Next door, Zhao Qingyun, who was about to climb over, immediately stopped. The others also secretly let out a sigh of relief. But to avoid exposure, they could only keep playing along with my act. After several rounds of persuasion, I could only temporarily stop questioning. The system also reluctantly cooperated with them. You don't love me? Then let me disappear from this world. The others were so awkward they could dig holes with their toes. How could that be? Dad and Mom love you. And your sisters all love you too. The last part, Father Zhao was clearly going against his conscience when he said it. I acted all emotionally agitated. I don't believe it unless you prove it to me. Otherwise, I'll jump from here. Then tell us, how do we prove it? Zhao Jingyi, who hadn't spoken, finally asked. I looked at them, and my eyes rolled. Give me 500,000 yuan in pocket money every month. Okay. What the? Zhao Jingyan, who had just returned from the room next door, was shocked. That easy? I should have asked for more. Everyone else was about to burst from holding it in. I looked over at Zhao Ruoyo. When she noticed my gaze, Zhao Ruoyo suddenly felt a wave of unease rise in her heart. Sure enough, I followed up with, second sister doesn't protect me at school. She lets others bully me. From now on, she has to protect me in everything. As soon as I said that, everyone waited for Zhao Ruoyo's reply. But she just stared straight at me, saying nothing for a long time. See, I told you Zhao Ruoyo wouldn't let me down. She's the most normal one of them all. Maybe I should start by targeting her alone. I don't even want to mention the others anymore. Zhao Ruoyo quickly replied, okay, upon hearing that. As long as you're not causing trouble on purpose. My expression twisted. I take back the compliment I gave you earlier. You hesitated so long to answer. You're not sincere at all. I don't believe any of you. This time I'm not pretending. I'm actually a little hurt. Su Wanli was the closest to me, so of course she could sense the change in my mood. She immediately said, I'll protect you, but that made me even more upset. Protect your head, damn it. I'm skilled in martial arts. I don't need a little girl like you to protect me. Instead of dating Song Jingyi improperly. Why are you getting involved with me? Damn it, I just want to retire. Take my 30 billion in retirement money and go have fun. Why is it so hard? Su Wanlin's expression didn't change. But in her heart, she had already taken note of this, seeing me still stiffly stuck on the windowsill. Zhao Qingyun was completely helpless. She spoke again. Big sis will give you 1 million a month. Please come down, okay? Alright, I agreed without even thinking. I was grinning from ear to ear. The task might be important, but I still understand the meaning of moderation. I pulled my leg back and jumped down from the window. Actually, I was just sitting there to enjoy the view. I wasn't going to jump, I explained after the fact. Before anyone else could speak, I immediately added, but what you all promised earlier, you can't go back on it. I recorded it, you know. Everyone quickly nodded in agreement. Only then did I happily go eat. This was Su Wanli's first time staying at the Zhao house for dinner. At the dining table, the Zhao family deliberately seated her next to me. On the surface, it was to help the two kids bond. But in reality, the Zhao family had realized only she could keep a calm demeanor in the face of all my bizarre behavior. To avoid trouble, they just threw the source of the trouble to Su Wanli. Sure enough, even eating a meal, I couldn't sit still. Peeling shrimp, picking out fish bones, only eating vegetable leaves, or avoiding green onions, ginger, garlic, etc. The worst was when I peeled something randomly. Zhao Yicheng claimed he was allergic, although the reborn version of me knew he was doing it on purpose to provoke everyone's dislike. The Zhao family believed that Su Wanlin couldn't hear the voice of the reborn mind. In this situation, facing all my nitpicking behavior, Su Wanli always remained calm and composed. She accommodated me completely. The Zhao family almost believed Su Wanlin had really fallen in love with me. After finishing the meal, I felt even more exhausted than Su Wanlin. I slumped down on the sofa, turned my head to the side, and saw Su Wanlin playing chess with Zhao Qingyun. Did Su Wanlin become a monk or something? How can her emotions be this steady? If it were me, I'd have flipped the table already. No wonder. Later on, she could tolerate Song Jingnian's constant flirting outside and even raising a child for someone else. Turns out the signs were there all along. Hearing that, Zhao Qingyun crushed the chess piece in her hand. But Su Wanli wasn't affected at all. Zhao Qingyun, however, couldn't suppress her desire to gossip any longer. She lowered her voice and asked, "Are you and Song Jingnian really a couple?" "No," Su Wanli answered without hesitation. "Song Jingnian is the child of my parents' comrade in arms. After his parents died during a mission, he had no one to rely on, so he was brought to the Su family to be raised. I have no relationship with him. I was just trying to eavesdrop on what they were talking about. I didn't expect to hear something like that so nice sounding. Now she says there's nothing between them. But wait till they're rolling around in bed for 3 days and nights, Zhao Qingyun will see." I choked a bit. I really had the urge to run over and shut my own mouth. "It's getting late, I should head back." Su Wanli stood up and said calmly. Zhao Jingyan naturally didn't dare to keep her any longer, afraid I'd blurt out more outrageous nonsense. But Su Wanli came directly to me, grabbed me, and pulled me outside. Once the two of us reached the courtyard, several members of the Zhao family quickly gathered around, watching us like gossip-hungry spectators. Meanwhile, Su Wanli dragged me into the yard. "Why did you bring me out here?" Su Wanli let go of my hand, looked at me seriously and said, "There's something I want to tell you." Seeing how serious she looked, my eyes narrowed instantly. Thinking back to how I made things difficult during dinner, a playful glint surfaced in my eyes. Could it be? Is Su Wanli going to break up with me this soon? Su Wanli's gaze darkened slightly as she looked at the boy in front of her who was clearly overthinking. "Break up, keep dreaming." I lowered my head and met her gaze, laughing secretly inside. But I was definitely annoyed. Looks like everything I did today wasn't in vain. Su Wanli didn't forget to come explain this to me. I thought she couldn't take it anymore and was about to break up. I had even prepared my excuse, acting clingy to lower her affection for me. Didn't expect the plot was finally getting back on track. Su Wanli still couldn't let go of Song Jingnian. According to the script, I'm supposed to start causing chaos between them. Then wait until Su Wanli can't stand it anymore and really begins to hate me. Ha ha ha. Retirement is just around the corner. My reborn thoughts were making Su Wanli's ears ring. "Zhao Yichen." Su Wanli shouted my name through gritted teeth. I almost got carried away with pride, but quickly pushed those little thoughts aside. I struggled to keep the corners of my mouth down and put on an angry tone. "Are you going to find Song Jingnian again? That shameless guy is trying to steal you from me again. I'm going to find him right now." I turned to storm out the door. Su Wanli quickly reached out and grabbed me. "Listen to me first." "No, I won't listen. I'm going to beat up Song Jingnian." "Why is he trying to steal you from me?" I acted completely crazy, but inside I was grinning from ear to ear. Su Wanli suddenly pulled me into a hug, gritting her teeth. "Zhao Yichen," she said, "am I really that untrustworthy in your eyes?" That sudden question stunned me completely. What the heck? Whether you're trustworthy or not has nothing to do with me. It's not like I'm the one spending my life with you. Su Wanli, who's always handled everything with ease, felt powerless for the first time. At that moment, the one thought in Su Wanli's mind was, could you just stop treating him like a mission target? Maybe realizing how emotional he had just been, Su Wanli spoke again with serious sincerity. "Since I've decided to try being with you, then I absolutely won't do anything to betray your trust." I stood there with my brain working at full speed. What does she mean? Is she for real? Then what about Song Jingnian? Weren't they the destined couple in the original plot? Su Wanli heard Zhao Yichen mumbling to herself and tightened her arms around my waist. My thoughts were suddenly cut off. I looked at Su Wanli in my arms, my eyes flickering. She had a fresh and clean scent. Looking down, I could clearly see her long, separated eyelashes. Su Wanli was really good looking, and she was exactly my type. Many times I secretly thought, maybe I should just sleep with her first. But unfortunately I had the desire, but not the guts, so I could only daydream about it in my head. Su Wanli was very close to me now. I could feel how soft her body was. I swallowed subconsciously. This close? Are you trying to seduce me? I want to kiss him. Su Wanli heard my thoughts again, but this time, he didn't push me away. Instead, with a hint of teasing, he slowly lifted his head and leaned closer to my lips. My eyes flew wide open, meeting Su Wanli's cool and clear gaze. My mind went completely blank. I clenched my teeth internally. Fine, You're offering yourself up, why not take advantage? A chance like this can't be wasted. The next second, with a rush of heat, I went in to kiss her. Suwonlee wanted to tease me, but she didn't actually want me to kiss her. The moment I leaned in, she slightly turned her head. Missing the mark, I instantly snapped back to reality. The tips of my ears began burning. Suwonlee whispered by my ear, "No rush. We can take our time." Hearing that, my ears burned even hotter. She made it sound like I was the desperate one. Clearly, you're the one using seduction, using beauty as bait. Fine. Don't want to kiss, then don't. Do you think I even care that much? Frustrated and embarrassed, I pushed her away. If you dare go see Song Jingnyeon, I'll break up and cancel the engagement. Suwonlee didn't get angry. Instead, she smiled at my clumsy and obvious bluff, looking at the guilty sparkle in my eyes. She curved her lips slightly. "I swear, I really just have something to handle. There won't be any inappropriate contact." I wasn't in the mood to listen to her explanations. "I don't believe you. You women are the best at lying. Go tell that to a ghost." I shoved Suwonlee aside as I spoke, leaving her there looking helpless. Back in the living room, everyone looked at Suwonlee with pity. They were all thinking, "Thank God we're not the ones he's tormenting." Suwonlee let out a helpless chuckle, then nodded slightly toward the Zhao family from afar. Turning around, she walked out of the Zhao family's second-floor window. I stood at the window, watching Suwonlee drive away. The smile on her face became somewhat meaningful. About Song Jingnyeon. Could the plot be progressing ahead of time? I hold the script, so of course I know. Song Jingnyeon was not simply fostered by the Su family. In the book, the author describes Song Jingnyeon as believing that between him and Suwonlee, money shouldn't be a constraint. Even without the engagement, they would still fall in love. But in my view, he just wants both the money and the girl. Just self-serving. But aside from old Madame Su, no one knows that the death of Song Jingnyeon's parents was just a cover story. There was no pension at all. It was the Su couple who couldn't bear to see a child ruined, and so told him his parents died on a mission. Even the 30 million that old Madame Su gave him was considered compensation for breaking off the engagement. Even Song Jingnyeon himself doesn't know any of this. Also, in the book, there seemed to be some kind of secret on Song Jingnyeon. Something a certain organization had been searching for. If I'm not wrong, Suwonlee suddenly telling me today is likely because someone from that organization has appeared around Song Jingnyeon. I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling, lost in thought. As for this matter, the book only mentioned it briefly. There were no detailed explanations, but I always felt that the matter concerning Song Jingnyeon was not something so simple. Time flew by, and half a month had passed. That day, I went to the hospital alone to remove the cast on my hand. Just as I came out of the treatment room, I saw Lee Kian in a wheelchair heading my way. She was being pushed over, since she was beaten last time. Lee Kian has been hospitalized for over a month. Aside from the fractured areas, the other injuries on her body have improved quite a bit. I raised an eyebrow with a flicker of darkness in my eyes. I didn't rush to leave the hospital. Instead, I found a corner to wait in. Before long, the caregiver pushed Lee Kian toward the small garden outside. I quietly followed them. "Right here is fine. Go buy me a bottle of drink." Arriving at a quiet spot, Lee Kian dismissed the caregiver. Once the person left, Lee Kian dialed the number. "How long has it been? Is it really that hard to find one person?" "I don't care. Even if you have to turn the whole capital upside down, you must drag that person out, daring to set me up. I'm going to skin them alive. I'm giving you 3 more days. Find them, and I'll pay you 8 million. If not, don't bother doing this job anymore." With that, Lee Kian angrily hung up the phone. I crouched nearby, eavesdropping. When I heard 8 million, my eyes lit up. I squinted my eyes. 8 million. This fool really has money to burn. Not conning her out of it feels like a waste. Just as the thought ended, Suwonlee's voice came from behind me. I turned my head and saw her standing not far away, under the shade of a tree. Her eyes were full of emotion, not stern as usual, but gazing softly at me. What is she doing here? Suwonlee was slightly out of breath. She had gone to school to find me, but upon asking, found out I had gone to the hospital. She instinctively thought something had happened to me. So she rushed over without delay, only to find me crouching here spying on others. Why didn't you tell me you were coming to the hospital? Su Wanli asked softly as she stepped closer. I raised my left hand. I came to get my cast removed. Su Wanli stared at my left hand for a moment, then turned her face toward where Li Qian was. She came to find you again? Because last time I was cornered by Li Qian in the gym and almost got beaten up. Su Wanli instinctively assumed that Li Qian had come to find me again this time. I shook my head. I just happened to see her. I only came to see how the person I sent to the hospital is doing. She looks like she's recovering quite well. If she dares mess with me again, I'll hit even harder next time. Su Wanli looked at Zhao Yichen in surprise. He was the one who sent Li Qian to the hospital. No wonder Li Jiazong had no leads despite searching for so long. After learning about this, Su Wanli couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. At least I wouldn't be bullied anymore. The cast is off now. Does that mean we can go home? Su Wanli simply glanced at Li Qian being pushed away by the caregiver, then said, and I nodded, then let's go. I'll take you to eat. Su Wanli said, naturally taking my hand. I looked down at the small hand holding mine. My brows furrowed. Why do I get the feeling Su Wanli likes me? Isn't this hand holding a bit too natural? Though I enjoy it, never mind. She better fall for me first, so I can ruthlessly dump her later. Walking ahead, Su Wanli quietly listened to my plan to dump her, thinking, there's no way I'm giving her that chance. In the evening, after we ate together, I walked Su Wanli back to her apartment. Then I hurried back to the dorm, grabbed the backpack and headed out into the night. By the time I changed clothes and arrived at nightfall, the sky outside had already darkened. Because of the incident with Li Qian, there were more security guards around nightfall. The Li family even had informants stationed nearby. All of them were trying to catch the person who beat up Li Qian. My goal was clear. I wanted a cut from the person Li Qian called. I went to the bar alone, ordered a cocktail, and started observing the people there. Suddenly crash, the sound of breaking glass made everyone fall silent. I looked over curiously and saw a male waiter crouching on the ground, picking up the broken glass by hand. In front of him, a man arrogantly lifted his foot and stepped on it. Do you even know how much this outfit cost? Even selling you wouldn't cover the cost. I found it boring. I've seen this kind of drama too many times, but when the waiter crouched on the ground spoke up, that finally caught my attention. Sorry, I didn't know you'd suddenly stand up. It was Lin Luji's voice. I narrowed my eyes. You mean it's my fault you bumped into me? A lowly person like you dares question me? The man cursed and was about to hit Lin Luji when I had already walked over. I raised my hand and splashed my drink in his face. The man instantly exploded in rage. Who the hell are you? Are you crazy? It's just a torn piece of clothing. Why make such a big scene? I thought the skin on your body just came out of a museum. I crossed my arms and said with a mocking smile, originally I just came to help Lin Luji out. But when I got closer, I realized this guy was another good buddy of Song Jingnian. Li Hao. The book described Li Hao's personality as arrogant and violent, even more so than the original villainess herself. And the original host ended up miserable, in no small part due to Li Hao's actions. He absolutely played a major role in pushing things over the edge. As my thoughts settled, I glanced down first at Lin Luji's hands, because Li Hao stepped on them. Many shards of glass were embedded in the flesh. Blood kept flowing. Seeing this, a fire of anger surged in my chest. Lin Luji's face had gone pale. When he looked up at me, there was a glimmer of light in his eyes, as if he'd seen his savior. Zhao Yichen, he called out earnestly. Before I could respond, Li Hao roughly wiped the alcohol off his face and sneered, oh, so it's you? The shameless loser from the Zhao family. Why aren't you chasing after your fiancée? Got dumped, huh? I knew it. How could trash like you be worthy of Miss Su? Li Hao's mocking voice grew louder and louder, causing some who had vaguely heard of me to burst into laughter. I stared coldly at Li Hao in front of me, not responding. Instead, I reached out and helped Lin Luji, who was still crouched on the ground, up. His injuries needed to be treated immediately, So I gave up on wasting time with Li Hao. Go get your wounds treated. Just as I said that, Li Hao arrogantly stepped forward, blocking Lin Luji's way. This young master didn't say you could leave. Try walking away if you dare. Lin Luji was frozen on the spot, shrinking back instinctively. Seeing that, my eyes grew icy cold. I stepped forward and directly shoved Li Hao aside, then turned to look at the timid boy behind me. What are you still standing there for? Go. Li Hao was instantly infuriated by my attitude. He swung a punch at me. You're asking for it. Zhao Yichen, watch out, Lin Luji cried in alarm, reaching out, trying to push me away. In the next second, I firmly grabbed Li Hao's wrist and forcefully flung him aside. He was no match for me at all. He stumbled backward, losing balance. If the guy behind hadn't caught him, he would have fallen flat on the floor. Zhao Yichen, you actually dared push me. Do you even know who I am? Li Hao shouted furiously, pointing at me. I replied casually, why should I care who you are? If you piss me off, I'll still hit you. Li Hao's face turned red with rage. He grabbed a wine bottle from the table and hurled it at me. Go to hell. The surrounding crowd quickly scattered. I easily dodged the bottle, then closed the distance between us, grabbed Li Hao by the hair, and slammed him onto the table. You seriously need a beating. I've already put up with you long enough. You'll only behave after getting your ass kicked, huh? Li Hao flailed both arms wildly, still yelling threats. Zhao Yichen, let go of me. Do you believe I won't let you walk out of here today? I tightened my grip again. Great, I'd like to see how exactly you'll stop me from leaving. Li Hao burned with rage. His cursing got filthier and filthier. Even the bystanders found it hard to listen to. I didn't react the whole time, but anyone who knew me knew. Li Hao had really messed with the wrong person this time. So much for elite family manners. His mouth was downright filthy. What, did he grow up eating dirt? Well then, I'll do the hard work today and help you wash that mouth clean. As I spoke, I grabbed the ice bucket on the bar. Then I poured it straight into Li Hao's mouth. After that, I yanked him by the hair and dragged him to another table, where I used the fresh ice bucket there to continue. Everyone watching was stunned by the scene. In my hands, Li Hao had no strength to resist at all. Those who wanted to step in and stop it were all silenced by my warning glare. Li Hao choked and couldn't even get a complete sentence out. It wasn't until the third bucket went down that I paused for a short break. Li Hao seized the chance, gasping, and shouted toward the Li family bodyguards nearby. Are you all blind? Can't you see I'm being bullied? Get over here and grab him. Mrs. Li is my aunt. You all want to lose your jobs. Li Hao raged on, and the Li family's bodyguards didn't move at first, but when he mentioned he was Mrs. Li Qian's nephew, they finally started to approach. Just as the bodyguards were about to make a move on me, Su Wanli appeared at the back of the crowd. She said coldly, I dare you to touch him. I turned around and saw Su Wanli walking out from behind the crowd. Behind her were not only her bodyguards, but also my third sister, Zhao Jingyi. Why are those two together? What are they doing here? Don't tell me they came looking for me. Su Wanli's face alone commands respect in the capital. Even when elders see her, they have to show at least some courtesy. After all, no one wants to offend the Su family. Seeing her arrive, the Li family's bodyguards immediately backed off. I paused for a second, then quickly let go of my grip, putting away my earlier fierce attitude. With a charming smile, I said, Wanli dear, what brings you here? Su Wanli thought to herself, what a typical act. Zhao Jingyi adjusted her glasses and said slowly, why do you only see your girlfriend? Am I, your third sister, invisible? I immediately flashed a grin at her. Third sister, coughed. Zhao Jingyi rubbed her arms. He really shouldn't have said that last line. With Li Hao no longer restrained, his pent-up fury from earlier exploded all at once. Zhao Yichen, I'll kill you? He roared with rage, grabbed a wine bottle and lunged at me. I skillfully ducked behind Su Wanli, acting weak and pitiful. Wanli dear, protect me. I'm scared. Su Wanli and Zhao Jingyi both had 3 black lines on their foreheads. Even so, Su Wanli stepped aside and signaled her bodyguards to handle it. The onlookers were speechless. all silently mocking my overly dramatic behavior. Li Hao was subdued by the Su family's bodyguards. He could only glare at me. Zhao Yichen, you shameless bastard. If you've got guts, don't rely on others. I looked at you proudly and said, hi? You're just jealous that someone's protecting me. If you've got the guts, go find someone to. If you can't, I can recommend someone. How about my third sister? Once you become my brother-in-law, maybe you can use your status to keep me in check. Zhao Jin was itching to punch someone. As soon as I said that, even Lin Hao was dumbfounded. In fact, the look in his eyes had shifted from anger to something more complicated. He was wondering if there was something wrong with my brain. Introducing my sworn enemy to my third sister. What do you think? Interested. My third sister may not be as pretty as Su Wanlin, but she's still a proper lady from a noble family. Give it some thought. I continued enthusiastically promoting Zhao Jingming, without caring about her life or death. Zhao Yichen, Zhao Jingyi growled through gritted teeth. But I just smiled and said, look at that. She's got a nice voice too, and she knows every part of the human body well. She's good at taking care of people too. Shut up. Zhao Jin's face darkened. I really did shut up, quietly hiding in Su Wanni's arms. Hee hee. The plot's a mess now, huh? Then I'll just start matchmaking randomly. Li Hao's family is no joke. The Zhao family bankruptcy had help from the list. If I match Li Hao and him together now, Zhao Jingyi would definitely hate me forever. Then I'd never have to worry about my hate value not rising. Or I could get Song Jingmian into the Zhao family too. So that big sis ends up wearing a green hat. Let Su Wanli fall for him, but not get him. And hate me even more. If Zhao Qingyun were here, she'd probably say, thank you so much. The two women who could hear my inner thoughts were silent, afraid I'd keep saying outrageous things. Su Wanli quickly covered my mouth. I glared at her in protest. Su Wanli said calmly, if you stop talking nonsense, I'll let go. I frowned deeply, obviously unhappy about it. I finally got a chance. How can I not speak nonsense? No way, take your claws off me. Su Wanli ignored my inner voice. Then just stay quiet for a while. My third sister, and I will handle this. Damn it. Why is Su Wanli so strong? I actually couldn't break free. Alright, turns out you're hiding some strength, huh? Helpless, I had to compromise. I blinked a few times, showing I wouldn't talk nonsense anymore. Su Wanli hesitated for a few seconds before letting go. Just as she did, I choked out, he just said you were blind. To fall for someone like me. Hurry, and curse him back. If you don't, I'll keep making a scene. Su Wanli's temple twitched hard. She had no choice but to patiently coax me. Don't worry about what they say. It won't affect our relationship anyway. But I was determined to make Su Wanli take a stand. After hearing that, of course, I wouldn't let it go. I don't care. What she said hurt my self-esteem. Zhao Jingyi muttered to herself. Do you even have self-esteem? Su Wanli, after all this time, had come to understand my personality somewhat. In this kind of situation, she had two options. Meet my demands. Or Grandma said there's an auction this Friday. The items there are very valuable. She asked me to take you along. If you like something, buy it. I was just about to start acting out again. What's the spending limit? Su Wanli gave me a look. No limit. I pretended to think it over. You think you can bribe me? Su Wanli continued. It's not a bribe. It's your birthday present. Upon hearing that, I could no longer hide my greedy nature. Trying hard to suppress my grin, I huffed proudly. That's more like it. Inside, I felt so much better. Seeing this, Zhao Jingyi lazily glanced at Su Wanli and said, you just spoil him. Su Wanli shook her head helplessly. But deep down, there wasn't a hint of dislike from me. Li Hao stared blankly at the scene, unable to figure it out no matter how hard he thought. Why is Su Wanli so dumb? Zhao Yichen, you handle things here. I'm taking him with me first. After calming me down, Su Wanli left the rest to the bodyguards. I scanned the crowd, looking for Lin Luoj. As if guessing who I was looking for, Zhao Jingyi said, don't bother. Your friend has already been taken to the hospital for his wounds. I let out a sigh of relief, but said arrogantly, he's not my friend. Su Wanli, walking in front, exchanged a glance with Zhao Jingyi. Both looked helpless again. Lin Luoj had already told them everything. After I got in the car, I suddenly shouted in my heart. The thought came so abruptly. It nearly caused the two women in front to slip up. Suwonlee silently turned her head and glanced at me in the back seat. Then she heard me thinking angrily, after all that fuss. I forgot why I even went to Nightfall tonight. You owe 8 million for finding the killer. I should get a cut of that. There's still time to ask them to stop the car, right? Or should I just jump out now? At that thought, Zhao Jingyi silently locked the car doors. In the end, I still didn't make it back to Nightfall. Instead, Zhao Jingyi drove me straight to the police station. We still have unfinished work. Be good and wait here a bit. I'll take you out for a late-night snack after. As soon as Zhao Jingyi got out of the car, she said that. I hesitated for a few seconds but gave in to the word snack. When I followed them into the police station, I saw a few plainly dressed elders, ranging from their 40s to 70s. Among them, a woman in her 40s was sitting on the ground, crying loudly. She kept wailing, "Daughter, daughter, where are you?" I pretended to be casual and moved closer. Just glanced over. From the corner of my eye, I spotted a missing person flyer on the ground, and saw at a glance that the boy in the photo was him. Did his parents really report it this early? Walking ahead were Zhao Jingyi and Suwonlee. My steps suddenly halted. The two of them turned to look at me. Then Zhao Jingyi seemed to realize something. She turned and looked at Suwonlee in surprise. Neither of them said anything, yet they understood everything. Suwonlee signaled with her eyes for Zhao Jingyi not to act rashly. "Wait for my cue," she implied. A few seconds later, they heard me again. If I'm not mistaken, the boy should still be alive. He's being kept in a basement by the killer. Who would have thought? It's actually the tutor his parents hired who locked him up. Isn't this literally a real-life Wolf invited into the house? Upon hearing that, Zhao Jingyi couldn't wait any longer. She turned around immediately and quickly walked toward the detective office. I looked up and saw Zhao Jingyi's hurried figure rushing away. Why is my third sister walking so fast? Suwonlee didn't answer my question. Instead, she reached out and took my hand, leading me to an empty room. "Wait here. If anything comes up, message me." After settling me down, Suwonlee turned to leave. "Wait, are you and my third sister hiding something from me?" I grabbed her and asked in confusion, because in the original timeline, Suwonlee hated the original host, so she rarely had contact with the Zhao family. But now, suddenly, she and Zhao Jingyi appeared at the police station together. There had to be a reason behind it. Suwonlee had no intention of hiding it from me. She looked toward the grieving family still crying outside, and said, "The missing boy this time is an intern at Su Group. He just started a week ago. He went missing not long after finishing work." I slowly pulled my hand back, deep in thought. If you search like this, by the time you find him, he'll already be dead. Suwonlee pressed her lips together. Right now, she really wanted to stop holding back and directly ask me what else I knew. But she still held back, because there are many unpredictable secrets hidden within me. If she exposed my identity too abruptly, it might backfire instead. At that thought, Suwonlee's mind cleared. She turned and sat back down beside me. "Not going to find my third sister." I looked at her in confusion. Suwonlee shook her head. "Later. Your third sister is probably talking to the police now. What does the missing person case have to do with her? Isn't she just a forensic expert?" "There have been several dismemberment cases recently," said Suwonlee, "and your third sister is in charge of them. So, they suspect this missing person case might be related. A missing person is one thing, and dismemberment is another. They're two separate cases. But I seem to remember that because the boy's body was dumped after his death, the police mistakenly linked this case to the dismemberment series. As a result, the real killer remained at large." Suwonlee's eyes flickered slightly. Then she lowered her gaze to hide the emotions within. I leaned on my hand, absent-mindedly watching the family being led by police into the interrogation room. The relatives were dressed very plainly. The parents and elders all looked like honest people. And to get into an internship at Su Corporation, that boy must have been quite capable. At the very least, he was a product of his family's great effort and care. White hemp rope always snaps at the finest strand. I sighed silently to myself. Suwonlee, meanwhile, stayed sharply focused beside me, trying to catch anything useful from my inner thoughts. The boy's parents were just regular working-class people. They scrimped and saved for years, just to hire a private tutor for their son. And what they got was a twisted woman. She was even recommended by a fellow villager. You really can't be too trusting of others, I kept thinking to myself, completely unaware that beside me, Suwanli was messaging Zhao Jingyi on her phone. Meanwhile, inside the interrogation room, Zhao Jingyi received Suwanli's message. She then put her phone away, looking at the parents crying and telling the police how outstanding their son was. She pursed her lips slightly. Recently, has any stranger visited your home? She asked. The crying mother first shook her head. She repeatedly said only family members had been there. At that moment, the younger son beside her, seemingly unsure what to do, tugged at his mother's sleeve. He whispered, "Mom, Teacher Wang came to our house." The mother's crying suddenly stopped. Then she quickly added, "Oh right. I recently hired a tutor for my daughter. He was introduced by someone from our hometown. Could it be him? That boy looked so gentle and polite." Appearances can be deceiving. Nothing is absolute, said the officer in charge. The officer then followed up. Next, the police began asking for this Mr. Wang's personal information and contacts details. After hearing the mother say that he still regularly came by to tutor her daughter over the past few days, the police began drafting an initial plan. By the time Zhao Jingyi returned from the interrogation room, I had already fallen asleep on the table, with a blanket Suwanli brought from the car draped over me. "He's asleep," Zhao Jingyi whispered. Suwanli nodded. "Should we wake him?" Zhao Jingyi thought to herself, "This young master has the worst morning temper." She turned to Suwanli. "You help him up. I'll go get the car." Suwanli asked in surprise. "I help Zhao Jingyi. Why not you? Aren't you his girlfriend? And aren't you his sister?" Zhao Jingyi waved her hand. "Yes, I'm his sister. But in terms of relationship closeness, you're actually closer to him than I am." With that, she didn't give Suwanli any chance to object. She turned and walked off. Suwanli stood in place, looking helplessly at me still snoring on the table. A moment later, she sighed. She walked over and softly called Zhao Yichen. But there was no response. Suwanli bent closer toward him. She called again. This time I stirred in my sleep. I frowned in annoyance at the sudden noise. Suwanli carefully helped me sit up. I woke briefly from my sleep. She helped me into the car. She was just about to ask Zhao Jingyi whether to take me home or back to school, when I slumped onto her shoulder. "Ow, that hurts." While adjusting me, she touched my cheek and realized my temperature was alarmingly high. Zhao Jingyi turned back and asked, "What's wrong?" Suwanli looked a little worried. "Zhao Yichen has a fever. His forehead is burning." "Then let's go to the hospital." Without hesitation, Zhao Jingyi drove straight there. After running a full checkup at the hospital, besides the fever, nothing unusual was found. Even the doctor was puzzled. He suspected it might be some rare illness. "Let's bring the fever down first. If it keeps going like this, it could be dangerous." Suwanli stayed relatively calm. At this point, she started to suspect that the issue wasn't with my body, but with the soul inside. Zhao Jingyi said, "I'll go handle the admission and payment." Meanwhile, I was in a strange place. All around me were brilliant, colorful lights. Other than myself, there was nothing. Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed in my ears. It was the system, just as I was about to call out. I heard it talking to someone else. Broken phrases, repeating random, fragmented words. Final erase opportunity. I was completely confused to understand what was going on. I started walking toward the sound. With every few steps, I heard someone behind me calling my name. I stopped and turned back, when a wave of scorching heat suddenly rushed at me. "No, Zhao Yichen, don't go." I raised my hand to shield myself from the wave of heat. Hearing that clear shout, my heart suddenly skipped a beat. "Who are you?" I pushed forward through the scorching heat, trying to see clearly who exactly was standing on the other side of the flames. My appearance even startled the system behind me. Once it realized something, The system panicked and forcefully expelled me from the space. I couldn't resist the power, pulling me backward. All I could do was stare fixedly at the silhouette in the firelight. Shouting, "Who are you?" I jolted awake with a cry. My chest rising and falling slightly, Suwonlee came over, looking at me with concern. "What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" I stared blankly at the person in front of me, then looked around at my surroundings. Confused, I asked, "Why am I in a hospital?" "You had a fever last night." Suwonlee reached out and touched my forehead, and found that the temperature had gone down. I sat in silence for a moment, as my brain slowly came back online. Soon I recalled everything I had seen in the dream. So, that was all just a dream? That can't be right. The feeling of that heat was too real. And the woman calling out to me from within the flames. I should know her. Who was she? I fell into deep thought, unaware that when Suwonlee heard the word woman, a flicker flashed across her eyes. Without a word, she got up and poured me a glass of water. "Drink some water. Let me know if you feel unwell. I'll call the doctor." I composed myself mentally, took the glass, and had a sip. Then I sneaked a glance at Suwonlee. Seeing she was still in yesterday's clothes, my mind began to race again. So, Suwonlee stayed here with me all night. She must be into me. Maybe I should reluctantly agree, and start a doomed but fated romance with her. It's not like it would be a task. I'll just enjoy it for now and think later. Sometimes Suwonlee really wanted to pry open my skull, just to see what kind of brain I had. Was it even the same as a normal person's? What the heck is a doomed but fated romance? If she really wanted a relationship, then it would have to be for life. At that thought, Suwonlee gave me a cold side glance as I continued to daydream. Not only would she never give me a chance, even if she did, she would never let herself become my plaything. At that moment, Zhao Jingyi returned with breakfast and interrupted both of our thoughts. Seeing that I was already awake, Zhao Jingyi, for once, showed a sisterly expression. "Still feeling unwell? Want another exam?" I shook my head. "I'm fine." Then eat some breakfast and go home to rest for a few days. After leaving the hospital, Zhao Jingyi offered to take me back to school, but Suwonlee arranged for the family driver to do it instead. After dropping me off at school, Zhao Jingyi went straight to the cemetery. Soon after, her car arrived at the largest cemetery in the outskirts of the capital. At the time, several police vehicles were already parked outside the cemetery. As soon as Zhao Jingyi got out of the car, a man in uniform walked out from inside the cemetery. When he saw Zhao Jingyi, he approached with a grave expression. "You're finally here, we've been waiting on you." "What's the situation?" Zhao Jingyi asked. The remains were found by a cemetery staff member. The victim was a young woman. She was decapitated. The body was posed grotesquely, tied to one of the tombstones. Zhao Jingyi's eyes darkened slightly, and her expression became more complex. Looks like she needed to act quickly and get useful information from Zhao Yichen. Otherwise, if this kept going, more women would fall victim. On the other side, I returned to the dorm and found the two roommates who hadn't shown up earlier were now here too. And these two people were the vampires who used to hang around the original host, Zhengxian and Jiling. Seeing them, a faint smile of sovereignty tugged at my lips. Zhengxian and Jiling saw me, and both acted like nothing had happened before. Still greeted me with smiles. "Morning, Yichen. We were waiting for you to eat together." I replied expressionlessly. "No time. I'm eating with my girlfriend." When Yan Zhengxian looked at me, surprised. "Girlfriend? You're not chasing Suwonlee anymore." I casually pushed my hair back, grabbed my toiletries, and walked toward the bathroom as I answered. "I'm not chasing. She's the one chasing me, okay?" Zhengxi and Jiling both thought Zhao Yichen had lost his mind. Suwonlee couldn't avoid him fast enough. How could she possibly chase him? But they didn't expose him right away, instead watching for laughs. "It's fine. We can join you. Let your brother see what this girl chasing you looks like." I couldn't be bothered to argue. With a cold look, I went to wash up first. Deep down, they didn't believe at all that anyone at this school could like me, let alone Suwon, the girl I had been chasing. So they had to follow and watch me get humiliated. The three of us went downstairs soon after, when they saw there were no girls downstairs. Jiling mocked, Hey Yichin. Where's your girlfriend? Zheng Xian added. We're brothers, right? That close already. If you don't have one, just say it. No need to act tough in front of us. Ji Ling echoed, yeah. We all know you've been into Su Wanli. But no need to lie like that. Hearing their words, I rolled my eyes. Are you guys high or something? Hearing that, the two of them froze. They looked at me, puzzled. Then they heard me continue. Otherwise, are you planning to put on a comedy show in public? Should I set up a stage for you too? After realizing my sarcasm, their expressions changed slightly, but they still held back. They clenched their teeth and forced a smile, saying, fine. Then we'd like to see if there really is such a girl. I sneered. Instead of wasting time here, you'd better hurry up and gather the money. You've only got 1 week. At the mention of money, the two instantly went silent. Zheng Xian lowered his eyes, gloom brewing in them. A few minutes later, just as Zheng Xian and Ji Ling were certain that I didn't have a girlfriend at all, they saw a girl walking toward us from the distance. Because she was still a bit far, they couldn't tell who it was at first. Until Su Wanli walked closer, Ji Ling asked with a hint of disbelief. Could it really be Su Wanli? How is that possible? You know very well how much Su Wanli used to dislike Zhao Yichin. It's only been a month. How could it be? Before Zheng Xian could finish speaking, Su Wanli walked straight up to me. The two of them looked stunned. Sorry, something came up at work. I'm late today. Su Wanli was wearing a dress that showed off her figure beautifully. Long, slender legs, a slim waist, and that stunning face. Even I couldn't help but be stunned by her beauty. I slowly snapped out of it, secretly cursing myself for being so weak. It's not like I haven't seen a pretty girl before, yet I was still dazzled by Su Wanli. But I absolutely could not show that I liked her looks too much. That would be embarrassing, you know? I've been waiting for you here for 20 minutes and 40 seconds, I said with a straight face. In Su Wanli's eyes, a faint, almost imperceptible smile flashed across her face, but she kept a straight face and said seriously, that precise. I looked a bit embarrassed. Of course, I'm very punctual, you know. Su Wanli nodded lightly and said, all right then, I won't be late next time. Hearing how quickly she agreed, my thoughts started spinning again. It was really annoying. Why is it that this person never gets angry? I can't even start an argument with her. Su Wanli completely ignored my inner grumbling. She raised her wrist, glanced at her watch, and said, let's eat. Hurry up. I'm starving. I grumbled in an extremely dissatisfied tone, then left Su Wanli behind and strode forward. I walked off quickly. Zheng Xian, still stunned, snapped back to his senses. He quickly called out, Yichin. Wait up. The moment he shouted that, Su Wanli finally noticed their presence. But after clearly seeing Zheng Xian and Ji Ling's faces, her delicate face turned slightly cold. Although she hadn't interacted with these two, they were not unfamiliar to her. In the documents her assistant brought from the company, they appeared several times in photos with certain people. Sensing that Su Wanli was looking at them, Zheng Xian and Ji Ling immediately put on friendly smiles. Senior, we're Yichin's roommates, his good brothers. Su Wanli glanced at me not far away. He actually has friends like this. Then I really wonder what they're doing behind his back. What are you standing there for? Trying to starve me to death? I crossed my arms, completely ignoring the displeasure on Zheng Xian and Ji Ling's faces, and said. Su Wanli hid the emotions in her eyes. Since you're friends with Yichin, then come along. She wanted to see for herself what kind of hidden secrets these two were carrying. Zheng Xian and Ji Ling never dreamed that one day they'd be invited to eat by Su Wanli. They were so excited they almost jumped on the spot. They nodded quickly. Sure. However, Su Wanli specifically called a separate car for them. I got into the back seat by myself. Throughout the whole ride, I made no comment at all about Su Wanli inviting those two. Soon, we arrived at the restaurant Su Wanli had reserved. While she was parking the car, I slipped into the nearby store and bought a bag of bread. Su Wanli looked a bit puzzled, but didn't ask. Until we sat down, I picked a seat far away from Zheng Xian and Ji Ling. As soon as I sat down, Su Wanli heard my inner voice. I need to sit far away. In the original novel, Those two were infected with STDs. Suwanli glanced at the two of them, their excitement clearly written on their faces. Then, without saying a word, she got up and came to sit next to me. I lazily lifted my eyelids. Are you mentally ill or something? Why are you sitting so close? Hurry up and leave. What if they come over too? Just as I had that thought, sure enough, Zhang Xian and Jiling saw how far we were sitting and felt a bit dissatisfied. They stood up and also wanted to move closer. Suwanli sensed it immediately. She quickly said, "You'd just sit over there." Yichen is a bit upset. I'm trying to cheer him up. The three of them fell silent. Suwanli acted as if nothing had happened. She pulled her chair even closer to me. My thoughts started buzzing again. Did she take the wrong meds today? Why is she so clingy all of a sudden? She's dressed so beautifully today. Is she testing my self-control, or what? Suwanli lowered her eyes, leaned close, and whispered into my ear. When her warm breath brushed my skin, I immediately stiffened, instinctively leaning back to avoid her. Don't move. Suwanli quickly grabbed my arm, holding me still. Then continued whispering in my ear, help me out. Those two, they used to be close to my rivals in the business world. I want to dig up some information. I pressed my lips together slightly, a golden gleam flashing in my dark eyes. Seeing this, Suwanli had no choice but to bring out her trump card. At tonight's auction, I'll buy you anything you want. Really? No matter the price. Yes, Suwanli promised without hesitation. As Su Corporation's heir, spending a bit of money was no problem. Not to mention, she really did want to get information out of Zhang Xian and Jiling. I pretended to think for a few seconds, then said, since you're my girlfriend, I'll help you out. And added, but it's definitely not because of the money, okay? Suwanli lowered her gaze, hiding a smile. A soft chuckle slipped from her nose. As the saying goes, if you have to offend someone, don't let it be money. I instantly changed my previously annoyed tone, smiling as I threw my arm around Suwanli's shoulders. Babe, they're really good friends of mine. We're so close we could wear the same pair of pants. Right, guys? I grinned while saying it, but I was burning inside. Zhang Xian and Jiling naturally wouldn't miss such a golden opportunity. Yes, we've always taken good care of Yichen at school. When he was chasing you before, we helped a lot too. I rolled my eyes inwardly. Yeah, a lot of help, all right. All the stupid things the original me did were egged on by you too. A flicker of cunning passed through Suwanli's eyes. I'll have to keep my distance from those two in the future. Don't want to be led astray. Suwanli gently nodded to the two with a kind expression. Then she asked curiously, why haven't I seen you two with Yichen lately? Zhang Xian smiled proudly. We went on a trip recently. Jiling and I just got back yesterday. As soon as he finished, I quickly added, they've got pretty wide connections. They know lots of people in the high society circles of Beijing, unlike me, who barely has any friends. In this aspect, it's true. Zhang Xian and Jiling really could show off their superiority in front of me. Don't embarrass us in front of Su Senpai. Which young lady in all of Beijing could compare to her? Zhang Xian first humbly praised Suwanli, but then added a bit of smugness in his tone, saying, we went with Miss Li this time. There were a lot of people with us, but we didn't recognize everyone. The Miss Li he referred to was from the Li family, second only to the Su family in Beijing. Li Weiyang, hearing Zhang Xian's answer, Suwanli's smile grew more knowing. She continued asking, Li Weiyang, huh? Haven't seen her in years. She's back in the country. Jiling rushed to reply, she just got back recently. Last month when she returned, she hosted a yacht party at Beihai. We thought Su Senpai would attend too. We even invited Yichen. Really? Suwanli turned her gaze to me in curiosity. I blinked and replied, it wasn't convenient for me at the time. My arm was still in a cast, so I had to decline. No worries, I'll invite you next time. Jiling said generously on purpose. I grinned, all right then, thinking to myself, that sounds nice. But really, they just want to sponge money off me. Thinking about how I'd spent over $1 million on them before, my heart ached and I instantly wanted it back. Ooh, my face hurts from all this fake smiling. When is this meal going to end? Damn it, if Suwanli hadn't bribed me with money, I wouldn't waste my time acting with them. Su Wanli quietly, watch me and those two put on our deep brotherhood show. Secretly impressed by my acting skills. Let's eat first. Since Su Wanli had already gotten what she wanted, she didn't waste any more time. The restaurant staff started serving dishes one after another. All the dishes were ones I liked. Such a pity I wouldn't touch any of them tonight. I secretly felt regret. Then, in front of everyone, I took out the little bread I had just bought. Zheng Xian and Ji Ling, already holding chopsticks eagerly, looked at me in confusion. Yichen, why did you bring bread? Aren't you eating? I calmly said, my stomach's been upset these days. Greasy food makes me nauseous. I wanted to eat it, but dare I? It's all Su Wanli's fault. She suddenly decided to invite these two. Now I can only watch, not eat. I took a fierce bite of the bread in my hand. Zheng Xian fake sincerely said, what a shame. So much good food. I gave a fake smile. It's not a shame. You eating it is just the same. Then Zheng Xian and Ji Ling dug in without hesitation. Su Wanli didn't flinch the whole time. She just occasionally poured me some soy milk from a hot pot she was holding. Suddenly, Zheng Xian stood up. He slurped his chopsticks in his mouth, then picked up a piece of fish and dropped it onto the bone plate in front of Su Wanli. Senior Su, this fish tastes great. You should try it. Su Wanli's expression changed. She still maintained her composure and politely declined. Thank you, but I don't eat fish. I struggled to hold in my laughter. I turned away and pretended to cough to cover my laughter. Hey ha. Su Wanli's expression just now nearly killed me laughing. Help? Zheng Xian even sucked on his chopsticks beforehand. It was covered in saliva, full of germs and bacteria. Su Wanli silently wrapped her hand with a napkin and pushed the bone plate a bit farther away. In Zheng Xian and my eyes, Su Wanli's action confirmed she truly doesn't like fish. Zheng Xian awkwardly tugged at a smile, then turned to another dish. Try this instead. Su Wanli frowned slightly, trying hard to hide her disgust. Junior, just take care of yourself. I'm not used to eating other people's food. As soon as she said that, no matter how much Zheng Xian wanted to get closer to Su Wanli, he had to drop the idea. He quietly sat back down and didn't insist on offering Su Wanli any more food. Ji Ling, who had been planning to tease him, stayed quiet after seeing how awkward he looked. Only Zheng Xian and Ji Ling were eating during the meal. I chewed on my dry bread, feeling more and more suffocated inside. So hungry this bread didn't fill me up at all. Can't they eat faster? I need to go buy something else to eat. It's all Su Wanli's fault. Blame Su Wanli. Hearing the boy next to her complain internally, she paused for a few seconds, then suddenly said, I have something to do. We'll leave first, Zhao Chun and I. The bill is already paid. Enjoy your meal. Before Zheng Xian and Ji Ling could respond, Su Wanli took my hand and led me out of the private room. I followed her out in a daze. We turned and arrived at another private room. Didn't you say you had something to do? I asked in confusion. Su Wanli casually replied, that was just a polite excuse. I was stunned. Su Wanli motioned for me to sit. Then she explained, I have this quirk. I don't like eating with others. Then, why did you eat with me? I sat down and asked sincerely. Su Wanli paused, then said, you don't count. I instantly flared up. What do you mean? I don't count as a person. Su Wanli, she was rendered speechless by my odd way of thinking. Say something. I even cooperated with you today. Why are you insulting me in a roundabout way? I stood up. Su Wanli reached out and pulled me back down. She tried to appease me. I wasn't insulting you indirectly. It's just that you're not like them. I was stuck in my stubborn logic. I shook off her hand and directly questioned her. What do you mean by not lumping me in with them? They're people. Am I not? Fine. Su Wanli didn't expect that this is how I saw her. And to think I like you so much. Do you have your eyes on one of them? Or are you just tired of me now? You want to end this relationship. It hasn't even been that long and you've already changed. You jerk. I'm going to tell Grandma. I'll tell her you bullied me. I seized the opportunity to stir up drama with Su Wanli. Normally speaking, even someone with a good temper like Su Wanli, would be annoyed by this kind of tantrum. I turned my head away, thinking, please just get mad. Even if we argue, that's fine. Why is it so hard just to have a fight? Su Wanli held me steady, listening to me rant endlessly. Once I finished shouting, she pulled me to sit down. Patiently and gently, she explained. What I meant was, you're my boyfriend, not just anyone. Of course, you're not the same as them. Got it. I had a lump in my throat that wouldn't go down. Just then, a waiter pushed the door open with food. I sat down hopelessly, damn it. I quit this damn mission. Hearing that, the system that had been silent couldn't stay quiet anymore. Host, you can't give up. Think about it, 300 billion, isn't that tempting? Then you go do it. I'm done. The system continued. Actually, host, there's something else I didn't tell you. If this mission fails, you'll be eliminated by the Supreme God. Eliminated? Fine then. Eliminate who? The system quickly added, me too. I slammed my chopsticks down. Great, so there's a huge trap waiting for me after all. No wonder it said nothing when I asked what would happen if I failed. So now you're trying to back out and not pay. Planning to kill the hostage, huh? Su Wanli next to me was startled by my sudden outburst. She asked with concern, what's wrong? Don't like the food. But I had no time for her now. I was still arguing with the system. So this is how you play. Fine, I quit. I've already lived several lives anyway. So what if I die? The system tried to persuade me, no, don't. Host, calm down. This is the easiest mission of all your tasks. Are you really willing to give up now? I snorted coldly. Let's be clear, I'm not failing the mission. I'm being sabotaged by ***. Be precise. It's not that I'm incompetent. It's that you're playing dirty. If this is how you're going to play, then I'll just tell everyone that this world is just a book. I'll tell them how the story ends. I'll throw the whole world into chaos. Who said I don't know how to cause trouble? The system had followed me long enough to know me well. It panicked, running in circles, and quickly said before I could speak again, host, I've applied to double your mission rewards and included an additional bonus. I remained indifferent. This extra bonus gives you 1 extra life. That got me a little interested. What do you mean? The system replied, it's basically a resurrection item. A resurrection item? Now that's interesting. If the system is giving that as a reward, then it means in future missions, I might actually face real danger. That thought darkened my expression. It's just a mission to reduce hate value. Why would that involve life-threatening danger? Could there be something about this mission I don't know? Just as my thoughts drifted, Su Wanli, noticing I wasn't moving at all, started to get suspicious. Zhao Yichen, she tried calling out to him, host? You can take your time to think. For now, just stabilize the situation. The system spoke with a pleading tone. I snapped back and thoughtfully recalled the system's reaction just now. Once I agreed, the system finally let out a sigh of relief and went back into hiding. Did you just call me? I came to my senses and turned to Su Wanli beside me and asked. Seeing I was back to normal, Su Wanli's eyes flickered slightly. Then she continued to ask with concern, what's wrong? I shook my head and played dumb. It's nothing. Of course, I wouldn't tell her the truth. Su Wanli didn't press further either, but she quietly kept it in mind. Later that evening, at a 5-star hotel, Su Wanli wore a sapphire blue, diamond-studded high-waist gown and arrived with me. Tonight's auction was hosted by a Chinese collector. The auction items all held extremely high collectible and historical value. Therefore, the guests attending came from all corners of the world, all wealthy and influential figures. As the eldest daughter of the Su family, Su Wanli's appearance immediately drew everyone's attention and greetings. After all, opportunities to meet the heir of the Su family didn't come often. Tonight, I was her male companion, and also her fiancé. Naturally, I received extra attention too. Just as we had finished greeting a wave of guests, a deliberately mocking voice rang out, Su Wanli. Is this the useless fiancé of yours who caused such a stir in the circle? Embarrassing you completely. All eyes turned in our direction. I held Su Wanli's shoulder and turned to look. I saw a young woman, about the same age as Su Wanli, walking toward us. She had bold, fiery red hair and fair skin. She gave off a slightly sickly, unsettling vibe. Su Wanli just gave the approaching woman a cold glance, then leaned toward me and whispered, "She's Li Wei Yang." I raised an eyebrow slightly, then replied with a sharp comeback, "Darling, how do you even know such a crazy chick? She looks like a red-feathered chicken." Li Wei Yang didn't expect me to be so bold, brazenly opposing her in public, and even calling her a red chicken. Her expression changed. The look she gave me turned sharp and clear in an instant. But after one glance, she turned to Su Wanli instead. Her tone was restrained, but still malicious as she said, "So the rumors were true. You, Su Wanli, are really willing to accept a worthless, uncultured fool as your fiancé? Are you that desperate? How about I find you someone else?" Before Su Wanli could reply, I already shot back at her again. "Back off. Don't bring your filthy nonsense near my baby. And I've heard that the Li family's young lady lives quite a chaotic life." As I said that, I lifted my other hand to my nose, and with a look of pure disgust, scanned Li Wei Yang up and down. Li Wei Yang looked extremely uncomfortable under my gaze. Before she could retaliate, I continued, "For someone with no standards like you, be careful, or you'll rot from the inside out." The reason Su Wanli didn't stop me was because she knew I never let myself suffer in silence. It would be useless anyway, but even so, hearing my blunt words, she still felt a twinge of helplessness inside. Su Wanli softly said, in her clear and beautiful voice, "You should worry about yourself first." With that, she wrapped her arm around mine and turned to walk away. Li Wei Yang's face looked awful, but as she stared, her anger turned into a smile. The way she looked at me gradually turned intrigued. Her eyes were filled with ambition. This Zhao Yichen seems different from what the rumors said. And even Su Wanli's attitude toward him wasn't quite what she had heard before. "Look into this Zhao Yichen." She turned and instructed the bodyguard behind her. On the other side, Su Wanli led me into a private room. I immediately walked away from her and flopped onto the couch without any grace. "That Li Wei Yang, do you have some kind of feud?" I leaned lazily against the couch, looking curiously at Su Wanli as I asked. There was nothing in the book mentioning any conflict between Li Wei Yang and Su Wanli. It only said that later, they both competed over Song Jingnian. Why is there so much missing information? Did the author not write it, or did Lin skip it? If they're true enemies, then maybe I can use that redhead to my advantage. Su Wanli saw the eager gleam in my eyes and immediately felt a headache coming on. She said, "She's not a good person. Stay away from her." I smiled and nodded. "Okay. I'll listen to my girlfriend." But deep down I thought, not a good person? Even better. If Su Wanli found out her fiancé got involved with her arch nemesis, wouldn't that drive her mad? What a missed opportunity. She basically walked in just to help boost my progress. I shouldn't have cursed at Li Wei Yang earlier. Su Wanli should have known. I'm not the obedient type. But given the situation now, she wouldn't tell me anything about the Li family directly. So, she's going to have to keep an eye on me from now on. Next up was the auction itself. The main hall was already packed with guests. Meanwhile, the private room was filled with people of high status and wealth from the whole city. Each private room was equipped with a screen sent to the main hall, as well as a tablet for guests to browse and review the auction items. I sat on the couch, holding the tablet in hand, flipping through the treasures listed in tonight's auction. Suddenly, I straightened up beside her, my eyes flashing with shock as I stared at the treasure on the screen. "Explain why this is here." Su Wanli's expression subtly shifted. Without a word, she glanced down at the tablet. It was a piece of white jade, carved into a design of a fish playing with a pearl. The item description didn't provide much information. Even its origin and age were marked as unknown. But just now in my inner thoughts, I clearly recognized this jade pendant. Sure enough, the next second, I held the tablet and leaned close to her. "Su Wanli, I want this. This jade pendant isn't worth much. It's basically a subpar item in this auction. What do you want it for?" Su Wanli wore a puzzled expression, but inside she was hoping I'd reveal something more. "It's pretty," I quickly made up an excuse. but worried she'd keep asking. I tossed the tablet onto the couch. I want it. You help me, bid. I can pay for it myself. Suwonlee slowly picked up the tablet, pretending to examine the pendant. In truth, she was just waiting for me to say more, but I only looked at her eagerly. That was the last thing Grandma ever gave me. And one day, it suddenly disappeared. Why did it show up here? Could it be that I once came to this world? Then why don't I remember? I'll have to ask the system about this later. What's going on? My inner voice stopped, and Suwonlee got the answer she was looking for. I said I'd buy it for you, so you're not spending a cent. Suwonlee pulled out her phone and made a call. Not long after, a staff member came in carrying a delicate box. Miss Sue, this is the item you requested. With a confused look, I watched the staff open the box. Inside was the jade pendant. I shot up excitedly, cradling it in my hands with affection. The staff beside us maintained a professional smile and slowly began explaining. This jade pendant was originally meant to be given as a gift to be presented. There's a small flaw on the back of the pendant. Sir, please see if you can accept it. I quickly flipped it over. At a glance, I saw a thin crack on the back. I can accept it, I can accept it, I replied repeatedly, but my eyes welled up with emotion. It really is the one Grandma left for me. I've finally gotten it back. I held it tightly. Suwonlee waved her hand, telling the staff to leave. She quietly watched the joy of regaining what was lost on my face. So who exactly are you? And where are you from? After getting the pendant back, I was in an exceptionally good mood. Once the auction ended, I complained about being hungry. Suwonlee asked the staff to send the auction items back to the Sue residence. Then she left with me first. We walked out of the hotel. Lee Wei-yang, who had been waiting here for a while, immediately came up. Suwonlee, it's been so many years since we last met. Let's have a drink together. Although Lee Wei-yang was talking to Suwonlee, her gaze fell on me. Suwonlee's eyes narrowed slightly, and her tone turned cold. Even if she refused today, Lee Wei-yang would still find other chances to get close to me. The matter of leaving home back then was deeply intertwined with the Sue family. She wasn't sure how much Lee Wei-yang knew. Would she transfer that hatred onto the people around her? Thinking of this, Suwonlee didn't answer Lee Wei-yang right away. Instead, she looked at me and said, Sorry, I'll have the driver take you back. I'll order some food delivery for you, okay? I had already planned to mooch off her anyway, so of course I wouldn't miss such a great opportunity. But before I could say anything, Lee Wei-yang chuckled and said, So nervous? She really is different from what I heard. But don't worry, I won't do anything to him. I stood by the side, but deep down I was overjoyed. Great, Lee Wei-yang really is a good helper. With her around, my mission progress is sure to skyrocket. I'm starting to get curious about what exactly happened between Suwonlee and Lee Wei-yang. What really went on between them? In the original story, this Lee Wei-yang clearly didn't like Song Jingnian, yet she stubbornly fought Suwonlee over him. It made me wonder, could it be that Lee Wei-yang is actually into girls? Maybe she likes Suwonlee? Thinking of that, I looked at Lee Wei-yang with even more gossip-loving curiosity. Suwonlee was speechless. In her heart, she could only say, seriously. But Lee Wei-yang was made extremely uncomfortable by the look I gave her. Suwonlee, dear sister, I don't eat takeout. I grabbed Suwonlee's hand and said. Suwonlee paused for a moment, then noticed the playful glint in my eyes. Her thoughts suddenly shifted. Maybe letting me deal with Lee Wei-yang wouldn't be a bad idea. All right then. After agreeing, Suwonlee brought both me and Lee Wei-yang to the same restaurant as last time. The three of us entered a private room and sat down. The Sue and Lee family bodyguards stood on either side of the door, each side eyeing the other warily. After ordering food, the room immediately fell into dead silence. I sized up the two of them. Suwonlee and Lee Wei-yang sat on their stools, both looking down at their phones. Neither of them looked like they were going to speak. The atmosphere was terribly awkward. I felt like a third wheel. Suwonlee slowly lifted her head and gave me a questioning look. I grinned at her and said, I want to go to the bathroom. Then I got up and strode out of the room. As the door slowly closed behind me, I turned to see the bodyguards standing outside like door gods. I gave them a promotion gesture with my hand, then ignored them. bent over and pressed my ear to the door crack to eavesdrop. The bodyguards on both sides watched me silently, their eyes full of confusion. My departure from the room seemed to break the deadlock. Sue Wanli casually tapped her fingers on the table. She spoke first. Go ahead. What's your purpose? Li Weiyang raised an eyebrow. With a carefree smile, she said, having a drink with an old friend, does that count as a purpose? Does it? Su Wanli replied calmly, but with an unmistakable tone of distance. Li Weiyang's smile froze a little. A trace of struggle flashed through her eyes. How did we even get to this point? Back then, the Li and Su families were close. Li Weiyang was born just a few months after Su Wanli. They had known each other since they were still in diapers. Until the age of 16. They were very close friends. If that incident hadn't happened, Li Weiyang wouldn't have gone abroad, and Su Wanli wouldn't have been sent for secret training. Now, the once inseparable friends meet again, but it ends up like this. Su Wanli remained silent. She didn't respond to Li Weiyang's words. In fact, they both knew very well what it was all about. Seeing that Su Wanli didn't speak, Li Weiyang laughed bitterly to herself. Then she returned to her usual lazy manner. Su Wanli, with your personality, no one could force you to do anything. So, do you really like that Zhao Yichen? The moment the topic changed, Su Wanli finally looked up. She warned coldly, don't even think about him. I didn't say anything, Li Weiyang said, amused. She picked up her wine glass and downed it in one go. Then she said meaningfully, then you better watch him closely. Hearing that, Su Wanli's expression turned a bit colder. Her aura became so intense that Li Weiyang could hardly breathe. But she still forced herself to meet her gaze. My warning will only be said once. Under the table, Li Weiyang's hand clenched and relaxed, then clenched again. All right, I was just joking. Don't take it seriously. Su Wanli didn't say anything more, but then I heard my own thoughts from outside the door. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I really wanted to know. She glanced toward the door, then stood up and walked straight over. As the door opened, I fell right in without any preparation. Thinking quickly, I raised my hand and smacked Su Wanli. Why did you suddenly open the door like that? I almost fell. Nice, strike first. Su Wanli nearly laughed from anger. You were gone so long I thought you fell into the toilet. Feeling a little guilty, I glanced at the bodyguards behind me, then quickly pushed Su Wanli back inside. How can you talk to your boyfriend like that? I'm mad now. You're being punished. Transfer me 500 yuan in pocket money. Li Weiyang's face was full of disbelief when she heard that. Seriously, is this guy a kept man or what? Of course Su Wanli knew. I was just acting shamelessly out of guilt. But she didn't care. I'll transfer it after dinner, she said, as she led me back to our seats. Li Weiyang stared at Su Wanli in utter shock. Was she under a spell or something? She's really going to transfer it? Not long after we sat down, the waiter pushed the door open to serve the dishes. Li Weiyang looked complicatedly at the two people sitting across from her. She just couldn't figure it out. Su Wanli had been pampered since childhood, surrounded by luxury. Such a precious person. How could she possibly fall for Zhao Yichen? And even picking out fish bones for him? Li Weiyang felt like something was choking her heart. Uncomfortable. I'm leaving. She suddenly stood up, threw out a sentence, and turned to leave. Su Wanli lowered her head, carefully picking out bones. She didn't even look up. Take care. Seeing this, Li Weiyang got even angrier. She slammed the door hard on her way out. I looked blankly at the door. That was still shaking from being slammed. Oh my god, could it be that Li Weiyang actually likes Su Wanli? Is it that dramatic? Su Wanli turned and gave the boy beside her a sideways glance. Without saying a word, she stuffed the piece of fish she had just deboned into his mouth. She probably thought I was being shallow and ditching my friends for romance. I quickly swallowed the food in my mouth and looked at her with smiling eyes. Could it really be that simple? Su Wanli leaned in and asked, Zhao Yichen, did you forget what our current relationship is? Boyfriend and girlfriend. Then what do you think my relationship with Li Weiyang is? She asked, and this time, I didn't answer right away. I met Su Wanli's calm and clear gaze, and sensed a trace of danger from her. Alarms immediately went off in my mind. I stopped being passive, and reached out to wrap my arms around Su Wanli. My sudden action caught her a bit off guard. Then she heard me say with a grin, "What's your relationship with Li Wei-yang? Shouldn't **U** be the one explaining to **me**? Let's get things straight. The one who should be feeling insecure right now is me, as your boyfriend. Seeing someone shady appear out of nowhere by your side, shouldn't I figure out what's going on?" After saying that, I even pulled her closer on purpose. My tone turned flirtatious. "This is the second time today you've gotten this close to me. Do you want me to kiss you?" Now, it was Su Wanli's turn to be flustered. She really should have known I never play by the rules. To beat me, you have to use money. But unexpectedly, Su Wanli didn't even hesitate. She coldly and indifferently replied. Then she pulled my hand off and sat back in her seat. "Eat, otherwise the food will get cold," she spoke while tidying up her clothes. I pouted a bit, watching the sunlight shine on Su Wanli. Her cheeks were clearly flushed. I silently scoffed, "Rookie. Still too green to mess with Big Brother here." Su Wanli paused while adjusting her clothes. She took a deep breath. Sometimes, she really wished she could selectively hear my inner thoughts, because sooner or later, I was going to drive her mad. After the meal, I returned to the dorm. Ever since we had that big confrontation the other night, Zheng Xian and Ji Ling hadn't returned to the dorm for 3 days. I had no idea where they were, until Zheng Xian gave me a call. I answered lazily, "What? Got the money together. If Zhao Yichen wants the money, come to this address. I won't owe you a cent." After saying that, Zheng Xian immediately hung up, then sent me the address. I sat on the stool, staring meaningfully at the address he sent. A hotel. Interesting. I let out a mocking laugh, then changed into a casual outfit and grabbed my black baseball cap. Just as Lin Luji returned carrying a few apples. He saw me getting ready to leave. "You're going out now?" Lin Luji asked. "Yeah, I might not come back tonight." "No need to leave the door open for me," I replied casually. "All right." Lin Luji nodded, then pulled an apple from the bag and handed it to me. With a smile, he said, "I just bought these. They're really sweet." I froze for a second, looking at Lin Luji's clean, smiling face, then silently accepted it. "Thanks. Can I ask where you're going?" Lin Luji hesitantly asked. "Zheng Xian asked me to meet him." "All right, I'm heading out." I rushed out the door. Lin Luji stood there stunned for a few seconds. Before realizing what just happened, he ran after me, but I was already out of sight, thinking back to the conversation he overheard the other day. Lin Luji hadn't had the chance to tell me everything yet. With that thought, he rushed back to the dorm, dropped the bag, and bolted downstairs trying to stop me. But by the time he gave chase, I was already in the car and gone. Lin Luji was anxious, pacing around in circles. Then he turned and ran toward the business school. He had to find Su Wanli. He had to tell her that Zhao Yichen might be in danger. But Lin Luji made the trip for nothing. Su Wanli wasn't at school today. "Can you give me her contact info?" Lin Luji asked, a little anxiously. The person looked at Lin Luji and instinctively mistook him for Aoki. "Su Wanli's junior. Junior, come back another day. We can't share Senior Su's contact info without permission." With that, they stopped paying attention to Lin Luji and turned to leave. Lin Luji was filled with worry, but could only return to the dorm defeated. He hoped Zhao Yichen knew how to protect himself and wouldn't get into trouble. If he didn't come back by tomorrow morning, then he would go find Su Wanli again. Elsewhere, I was sitting in the car, tossing the apple Lin Luji gave me in my hand, smiling. I'm not stupid. Zheng Xian choosing a hotel for our meeting. Clearly, something's fishy, but I'm curious to see what these toxic people from the original plot are scheming. Soon, the taxi arrived in front of the hotel. I paid the fare, then looked up at the tall building in front of me. I took out my phone and checked Zheng Xian's message, then headed upstairs according to the room number he gave. While the elevator was rising, I got a WeChat message from Su Wanli, asking what I wanted to eat for breakfast. I was just about to reply when the elevator arrived. "Yichen, you're here." The elevator doors opened, and there was Zheng Xian waiting outside. I quietly slipped my phone back into my pocket and looked around. The whole floor was eerily quiet. Zheng Xian, afraid I'd sensed something was off, hurried forward and tried to grab me. I dodged to the side and said coldly, "I'm here." "Where's the money?" Zheng Xian's face froze for a moment. A cold glint flickered in his eyes. "It's in the room. Cash only." I stared at him for a moment. Then I started to smile. After that, I followed Zheng Xian toward the room. Along the way, Zheng Xian kept looking back at me countless times, as if I might run away, until they entered the guest room at the end of the corridor. After I walked in, Zheng Xian immediately locked the door. Then I heard him shout, "Weijie," and saw one wall in the room slowly move aside. It moved slowly, and more than a dozen men and women came out from behind it. Among them, some underling-looking men surrounded me. They left me no chance to escape. Zheng Xian had already returned to stand behind a muscular man, whose body was covered in tattoos. He said flatteringly to the man, "Weijie, this is the one. Are you satisfied?" This man called Weijie was shirtless. His arms and neck were covered in tattoos. He had his arm around a sexy woman. He was sizing me up, but I couldn't see his face clearly because he was wearing a baseball cap. So he said impatiently, "Take off the cap." I looked at the situation in front of me with amusement, but had no intention of taking off the cap. I stood still. Weijie immediately got annoyed. "Didn't you hear what I said? Take off the cap." I ignored him, and instead looked past him toward Zheng Xian and asked, "Zheng Xian, where's the money?" Now that Zheng Xian had someone backing him, he naturally wasn't afraid of me. He crossed his arms and sneered, "You want the money? Well, I won't give it to you." I sneered, "I already gave you a chance. You're the one who didn't know what's good for you. You should know. Some people really want to deal with you." Upon hearing that, I let out a cold laugh and pressed down on my cap. "Oh really? Then don't blame me." Weijie, annoyed, gave a signal to one of the guys behind me. "Take off his cap. I want to see what he's got." As soon as he said that, the guy reached out to grab my cap. But before his hand even touched it, I grabbed the guy's arm and threw him over my shoulder. The move happened so suddenly that no one expected I had such skills. Seeing his man taken down, Weijie immediately got upset. "Hold him down for me." With that order, several of the guys all rushed in. Zheng Xian and Ji Ling were ready to sit back and enjoy the show. But as things unfolded, the smiles on their faces gradually faded, because Weijie's 5 or 6 men were all beaten down by me and couldn't move. "You bunch of weaklings," I said with disdain. Weijie also realized that this seemingly harmless boy was no ordinary person. He turned around and glared fiercely at Zheng Xian. Through gritted teeth, he growled, "This is the trouble you brought me." Zheng Xian had no idea I could fight like that. He quickly shook his head in panic. I didn't know. Before he could finish, I cut him off. Yelling at them won't help. They haven't made me mad enough to actually hit them yet. With that, I tilted my head slightly, a malicious grin spreading across my face. But that might change today. Weijie glanced at his groaning men on the ground, rage bubbling up uncontrollably. He shoved the woman leaning on him aside and said coldly, "Very well, today I'll deal with you myself." I wasn't afraid at all. I took the apple that Lingji had given me out of my pocket and placed it on a cabinet. Then I turned around and started fighting Weijie. After traveling through countless small worlds, I had long since learned all kinds of skills. To me, they were all weaklings, but I don't strike easily. And when I do, I don't hold back. Soon, the only ones left in the room were Zheng Xian and Ji Ling, trembling in the corner, along with a few others who were out of it, and some women who even seemed a little excited. I looked at them, frowning slightly. Their condition. Just one look and I knew they had taken things banned by law. Looks like I might earn some credit this time. I tore out the TV cable and used it to tie Weijie's hands behind his back. After doing all that, I turned around and looked at the guys I had knocked to the floor. "You lot, drag him into that secret room." The men looked at each other, not understanding, while my smile grew colder. "If you don't do it, I'll beat you until you do." Without a word, the men quickly stepped up and started dragging Weijie into the secret room. Once everyone was inside. I dragged a stool in as well. Now I really want to see what you've been hiding in this place. The setup inside the room was no different from a typical nightclub lounge. As soon as I stepped in, the mixed stench inside made me frown hard. I turned on the ventilation fan and waited until the smell faded a bit. Then I walked in further. A few dazed women were sprawled sideways across the sofas. Zhengxian and Jiling cowered in the corner, while Weijie was thrown to the ground, glaring at me in disgust. I set the stool down in front of him, sat down, and stepped on his face mockingly. If you can't win, you'd better learn to behave. Get rid of that unwilling look on your face. Weijie had never suffered such humiliation before. He gritted his teeth and said, "You bastard, do you know who I am? Offending me means you're done in the capital." Oh, still acting tough at this point. I pressed down harder with my foot. Voice cold as ice. "I don't care who you are. If you land in my hands, you'll be lucky to lose just a few layers of skin." As I spoke, one of the guys behind me suddenly hardened his expression. Out of nowhere, he pulled out a small knife and lunged at me quickly. In that split second, there was the sound of a bottle shattering and screams from Zhengxian and Jiling. When they opened their eyes again, they saw that the guy who tried to attack me was already on the ground, bleeding from the forehead and unconscious. I clapped my hands, then picked up another unopened bottle of alcohol and held it in my hand. My gaze swept coldly across the others. Anyone else want to resist? Everyone quickly shook their heads. They were just hired help, not looking to die. Seeing this, I curled my lips in satisfaction. I sat down again. I noticed on the coffee table, there was a brand new model smartphone lying there. After asking, I learned it belonged to Weijie, so I used facial recognition to unlock it. Inside the phone, I found quite a lot of things. These people not only diluted drugs, they were also involved in forcing women into prostitution. Seeing all this only made the anger in me burn deeper. Then I opened the chat app. The most recent conversation thread was between Zhengxian and Weijie. From their chat history, I learned that to Weijie, I was only worth 50,000 yuan. I was instantly furious. By the time I finished reading all of Weijie's crimes, it was already 6 a.m. without me even noticing. "Call the police and report there are drugs here," I said to Zhengxian and the others with a faint smile. Zhengxian instinctively shook his head, because once the police showed up, everything he had done would be exposed. Think carefully. If I'm the one to call the police, the consequences will be very different. I didn't spell it out, but they understood perfectly well what I meant. And in this whole situation, Jiling hadn't directly participated in anything, while Zhengxian was still desperately against calling the police. Jiling decided to follow my instructions, in hopes of minimizing his own responsibility. Soon after, Jiling dialed the emergency line. At the same time, in the business school, Lin Luji hadn't slept all night, worried about me. Before dawn, he had already arrived at the school gate, waiting there for over an hour. Just saw it. Suwanli's sports car drove in through the school gate. "Senior Su." Lin Woj immediately ran towards Suwanli's car. Zhao Ruoyo had just gotten out of another car. She heard the commotion too, stopped curiously, and glanced over with his arms wide open. Directly blocked the middle of the road. Suwanli stepped on the brake and slowly stopped, thinking it was another love-struck junior trying to get her contact info, blocking her like this just for that. Zhao Ruoyo was surprised to see someone so bold, actually daring to block a car. Took out her phone, ready to record it, to send to her love-struck younger brother. But before Lu Zijian could press the button, they heard Lin Woj frantically leaning against Suwanli's car window, saying, "Senior Su, hurry and save Zhao Yichen. He was tricked by Zhengxian and the others yesterday, and hasn't returned since." Zhao Ruoyo raised an eyebrow. In the past, she would have ignored something like this, but this time was different. "What did you just say?" She walked over quickly and asked. Suwanli also rolled the window all the way down. Her expression turned serious. "What happened to Zhao Yichen?" Lin Woj repeated what he had overheard the other day to both of them, then regretfully said, "I should have stopped him yesterday. But by the time I reacted, it was already too late. He hasn't come back all night. Could something have happened to him? Su Wanli frowned deeply, took out her phone, and called me, but got a message saying the number couldn't be reached. Did he say where he was going? Su Wanlin realized this wasn't a simple matter, and asked seriously. Lin Luo shook his head. He didn't tell me. But Zhao Ruoyo suddenly said, "Wait a second. I remember when he first came back. To ensure his safety, we installed a tracker on his phone." After saying that, Zhao Ruoyo immediately opened the phone's tracking app, quickly pinpointed my location at Blue Moon Hotel. Without another word, Su Wanli immediately turned the car around. The two rushed over at full speed. When Su Wanli and Zhao Ruoyo arrived at the hotel, the police arrived at the same time. After a brief exchange, Su Wanli and Zhao Ruoyo followed the police. And when they broke into the room and found the hidden space, I was squatting on the ground looking weak and pitiful. Zhao Yichen. Su Wanli didn't even have time to see the scene clearly before shouting out, hearing her voice. I, who was just about to turn on the acting mode, looked up suddenly. Why is Su Wanli here? Su Wanli looked in the direction of the noise and immediately saw me squatting in the corner. The sight tugged at both Su Wanli and Zhao Ruoyo's hearts. My mind raced quickly. Then I suddenly stood up and threw myself into Su Wanli's arms, hugging her tightly. Su Wanli started checking if I was hurt. Words of worry and concern hadn't even come out yet when she heard me mutter deep inside, "Why is second sister here too? Seriously, every time I beat someone up, you all show up. I have to act even better. Can't let them know I'm the one who beat those people up. Gotta maintain my image. It would be bad if they found out." Su Wanli shut her mouth again. Even Zhao Ruoyo, who was about to come over and show concern, stopped in her tracks. Su Wanli, why did you only just get here? I was so scared to death. I buried my whole face into Su Wanli's neck, determined not to let them see I was faking it. Watching Zhao Yichen cling to her, Su Wanli's temple started twitching uncontrollably. How sweet. She had been so worried on the way, afraid something would happen to him. But who could even beat him? Don't be afraid, I'm here. Still, Su Wanli played along with her act. Zhao Ruoyo still didn't know yet. Su Wanli could also hear my inner thoughts as she softly comforted her little brother. She couldn't help but show some sympathy. Girl, all your deep feelings are sadly misplaced. After Su Wanli finished comforting me, the police had already controlled the other people present. Seeing their condition, the police began a brief questioning. Who called the police? Ji Ling timidly raised his hand from the back of the crowd. I did. When the police asked what happened here. Who did the beating? Ji Ling lowered his head in fear and didn't dare speak. The police frowned and looked around. Eventually, their gaze landed on me. At that moment, I looked like a frightened, innocent boy, clinging to Su Wanli as if I'd been terribly frightened. They were all gathered at first, sniffing some kind of white powder. Then they started acting crazy. Su Wanli thought to herself, it's a pity Zhao Yichen didn't become an actor. But she didn't plan to expose him. After all, the scene before them already made things pretty clear. These people were the ones messing around. Once the police understood the situation, they planned to bring everyone back to the station. Miss Su, he'll need to come too for a urine test. The officer pointed at me and told Su Wanli. Su Wanli nodded directly, okay. I nodded obediently too, but I hadn't drunk water all night. How am I supposed to pee? My stomach's growling too. I still haven't eaten the apple Lin Luji gave me. Su Wanli silently glanced at me, then turned to talk to the police officer from earlier. Said something to him. Then I followed Su Wanli and Zhao Ruoyo to the police station in their car. That breakfast was bought for you. On the back seat was the breakfast Su Wanli originally meant to bring me. As soon as I got in, she handed it over. I was so hungry I could barely sit up straight. I muttered a quick thanks and dove into the food. Zhao Ruoyo was in the passenger seat, looking deeply at Su Wanli, clearly surprised by how she treated me. What exactly is going on here? Su Wanli was still asking about the situation while driving. I pursed my lips, thinking there was no way to hide this. So I simply said directly, Zheng Xian and Ji Ling owed me over 1 million yuan. I asked them to pay it back, so Zhang Xian held a grudge and tricked me into going to the hotel, planning to sell me to those people. Hearing that, Zhao Ruoyo couldn't sit still. She turned to look at me and said, "They didn't know your identity. Even dared to sell the young master of the Zhao family." I replied calmly, "They said anyway. The Zhao family doesn't care about a useless young master like me. Even if I disappeared or died, they'd probably be glad. They wouldn't look for me," though it sounded a bit harsh, judging by how the Zhao family treated me before. It wasn't far from the truth. Good thing I can fight. Otherwise, I might have really been sold off to northern Myanmar. Zhao Ruoyo was completely speechless. No matter how much they disliked this younger brother, they wouldn't ignore whether he lived or died. "You don't need to worry about this. I'll tell the family," said Zhao Ruoyo. After saying that, she took out her phone and called Zhao Qingyun. I sat alone in the back seat, enjoying the delicious breakfast, while wondering in my heart. I didn't tell anyone. So how did Su Wanli and second sister know where I was? It doesn't make sense. Could there be a tracker on me? At that thought, I started frantically searching myself all over. Su Wanli looked at me through the rearview mirror, jumping around like a monkey in the back. So she explained, "It was your friend. He blocked me in front of the school this morning. Told me something happened to you." I stopped moving. "You mean Lin Luji?" Su Wanli replied with a hum. "Even if he told you I was in trouble, how did you know exactly where I was?" I narrowed my eyes, a probing look in my eyes. "Is it really that hard for me to find out where someone is?" Su Wanli said calmly and unhurriedly. I stayed silent. Damn it, acting all-powerful, so what if you're influential? Su Wanli mentioned had a faint smile in her eyes as she sneered. I put on a baseball cap and turned my head away in silence. By the time we arrived at the police station, Zhao Qingyun had already been waiting there for a few minutes. "Are you hurt? Did anyone bully you?" The moment we walked into the police station, Zhao Qingyun blurted out these words of concern. It made me a little uncomfortable. I stood still for several seconds before shaking my head. "I'm fine." My delayed reaction, in Zhao Qingyun's eyes, looked like I had been badly frightened. She stepped forward and hugged me for the first time. Gently comforted me. "Don't be afraid. Let your sister handle the rest." I stood stiffly in place, not even flinching, like to limp forms. What kind of nonsense is this? Putting on some deep sibling affection show. Back when things went wrong before, you never cared this much. What happened? Short-circuited your brain lately or something? Zhao Qingyun's comforting gesture froze instantly. Su Wanli and Zhao Ruoyo beside him could barely hold back their laughter. They both turned their heads away. Zhao Qingyun closed her eyes and took a deep breath. What exactly was she expecting? This brat clearly doesn't have a heart. Zhao Qingyun let go of me, then walked into the interrogation room without looking back. She was afraid if she didn't leave now, she might not be able to stop herself from choking me. "Second sister Zhao, stay here with him for a while. I'll go take a look." After speaking, Su Wanli also followed him into the interrogation room. I was feeling a bit tired, so I sat down on the bench. Leaning against the wall, I closed my eyes to rest. That's when someone pushed Li Qian inside. Beside her were two men in suits and a well-dressed middle-aged woman. "How long has it been already? You still haven't caught the culprit?" The middle-aged woman entered and immediately started scolding the officer at the front desk. Annoyed, I looked up briefly, then stood up and walked toward a quieter corner. As Li Qian looked up and saw the figure in a black tracksuit, wearing a baseball cap, her mind instantly flashed back to the person who beat her up that night. "Mom, he's right there." Li Qian pointed at my back and shouted. Li Qian's voice instantly silenced the woman beside her. She turned to look in the direction Li Qian pointed. "Is that the one who hit you?" The woman asked nervously. "Yes, black clothes, black cap. It's him." As Li Qian finished speaking, the two suited men exchanged a glance, then immediately stepped forward and came after me just as I sat down. Beside me, Zhao Ruoyo hadn't even had time to ask what I wanted to drink before she was shoved aside. Within seconds, Li Qian and her mother blocked my path, with her two older brothers standing on either side. Now I was seriously annoyed, seeing someone disturb me. I looked up coldly and saw Li Qian right in front of me. "You brat, hiding this long. Now this lady's finally caught you. These past days, in the hospital had been miserable for Lee Keon. Song Jinhee and didn't even visit her once at the hospital. She blamed it all on the one who beat her up. The one who sent her to the hospital. You're the one who hit my daughter. I'll make sure you rot in jail. Lee Keon's mother was notoriously aggressive in elite circles. She cursed while reaching to snatch the cap off my head. My eyes turned sharp instantly. The hand in my pocket had already pulled halfway out. What are you doing? Zhao Ruoyo stepped forward like an arrow and stood in front of me. I was stunned for a second, staring directly at my second sister standing protectively in front of me. Zhao Ruoyo said coldly, Mrs. Lee, what are you doing? Mrs. Lee instinctively wanted to scold the person in front of her. The next second, she was held back by her two sons behind her. Mrs. Lee didn't recognize Zhao Ruoyo, but that didn't mean her daughters didn't. Mom, she's the second young lady of the Zhao family. Upon hearing her daughter's explanation, Mrs. Lee finally held back some of her anger. But she was still aggressive. So you're from the Zhao family. But even if the Su family came today, it wouldn't matter. The person behind you sent my daughter to the hospital. I want him in jail. Zhao Ruoyo had indeed heard about the Lee family offering a big reward to find the attacker. But no matter how she thought about it, she couldn't see how it involved her. At least, that was before seeing those people who got beaten up by me last night. She glanced sympathetically at Lee, who was still sitting in a wheelchair. You say I sent your daughter to the hospital. Have proof. I looked at Mrs. Lee innocently. Upon hearing my voice, even Lee Keon was stunned. It was you? A hint of disgust appeared on Lee Keon's face. So, the person you were looking for wasn't me. I continued to ask innocently. Stupid brat. If you can find evidence, I'll admit defeat. After hearing my inner thoughts, Zhao Ruoyo had a I knew it expression. Lee Keon didn't expect that person to be me. Just now, her rage to find the culprit was instantly cooled. Instead, she spoke in a vile and disrespectful tone. Didn't Zhao Yicheng call me a few years ago, saying you bullied him again? Did you? Have you forgotten all the warnings I gave you before? The smile on my face remained unchanged, but if you look closely, you'd see an icy chill boiling in my eyes. Still so arrogant. Looks like I went too easy on you. Next time I'll rub it in well, so I can wear down that sharp edge of yours. Before I could say anything, Su Wanli and Zhao Jingyan had already come over, came out from the interrogation room. Just happened to hear what Lee Keon said earlier. Li Jia is really something. Zhao Jingyan strode over. Her tall figure directly blocked my way. She stared sharply at Lee Keon in the wheelchair and said coldly, were you bullying my brother like this at school too? No matter how much of a jerk Lee Keon is, but facing Zhao Jingyan, who is older and stronger in every aspect, she was still a little intimidated. She gulped nervously. I remember warning you last time too, Lee Keon. Su Wanlin walked over slowly. When she said his name at the end, there was an undeniable warning in her voice. Lee Keon's face suddenly changed. Then she turned around in shock, looking at the person behind her in disbelief. From the moment Su Wanli was born, even Madame Lee, who was full of arrogance earlier, immediately backed down. In the upper circle, you can offend anyone but the Su family. Madame Lee stammered, wait a minute. This is a misunderstanding. We mistook her for someone else. After saying that, she quickly tried to leave. Her two sons rushed to wheel Lee Keon away, but Su Wanli blocked their way. What I said to Madame Lee is not the same thing. Su Wanli's cold eyes were fixed straight on Lee Keon in the wheelchair. She continued, Lee Keon, you forgot my warning too. Su Wanli had said this much already. Madame Lee began to panic. She hurried forward to shield Lee Keon and said flatteringly, Miss Su, they're just kids. Fighting and squabbling is normal. Su Wanli looked sharply at Madame Lee. Kids who are already 20 years old. Madame Lee was at a loss for words. As for Lee Keon, even though she was afraid of Zhao Qingyun and Su Wanli, just thinking about how the one Song Jingyan likes is now defending another man made him instantly lose his mind. Su Wanli, are you really going to make Jingyan suffer again and again for that man? Don't you know exactly why I'm targeting Zhao Yicheng? As soon as he said that, Lee Keon got smacked on the head. Madame Lee gave him a painless slap, then immediately apologized. Sorry. She's still dazed from being hospitalized. Her mind isn't clear. Miss Su, Please don't take it to heart. As for Li Qian's issue, Suwanli didn't even bother to respond. But the eldest son, who had remained silent, stepped forward and sincerely apologized. Sorry, we didn't discipline our sister properly. We didn't even know what she did outside. If possible, we're willing to offer financial compensation as a form of apology. Compensation? Sure. Since you're going to pay anyway, might as well pay more. I tilted my head from behind their protection. The three women who heard my thoughts were speechless. Suwanli said coldly, I'm not the victim. Telling me is pointless. After she spoke, Zhao Qingyun and Zhao Ruoyo both instinctively stepped aside. I sat on the bench. The brim of my cap covered half my face, leaning lazily against the wall. Aside from the magnetic tone of my voice, no matter how you looked at me, Li Qian truly believed I was the one who beat her up that night. But thinking carefully, I used to be too afraid to resist her bullying. It couldn't have been me that night. For a moment, Li Qian couldn't recall clearly. What were the characteristics of that person that night, seeing everyone looking at me? I cleared my throat, then turned to Zhao Qingyun and said, Sister. There were others besides her. They dragged me to the gym many times and slapped me, kicked me. As soon as I said this, even Suwanli looked at me in surprise. Then the three of them heard me continue. Every time Jingnian was unhappy, even if it wasn't my fault, Li Qian would still take it out on me. But back then, I asked you all for help many times, yet none of you ever did anything. So just like Li Qian, who used violence, you who stood by and watched are also perpetrators, as if to prove the bullying by Li Qian at school. I slowly rolled up my sleeve, revealing two cigarette burn scars. They even burned me with cigarettes. Hearing my voice without any emotional fluctuation, Zhao Qingyun and Zhao Ruoyo felt something heavy in their hearts. Suwanlin pressed her lips together. No one knew what she was thinking. Zhao Jingyan gritted her teeth and said, This is not something that can be resolved with compensation. Li Qian, just wait to receive your subpoena. Li Qian didn't expect that I would report her bullying at this moment. She clenched her teeth and said I was lying and slandering, that I was bullying her. Do you have proof? Last time when Suwanli rushed over, they hadn't actually laid hands on me yet. There was no concrete action. Li Qian felt secretly pleased and swore that once she recovered, she would teach this guy a lesson. Little did she know, my next words were like a bucket of cold water dumped over her head. In my phone, I have videos and recordings of them bullying me. As soon as I said that, everyone turned to look at me. Madame Li and Li Qian both stared at me like they wanted to devour me, warning me with their eyes over and over. But I wasn't afraid in the slightest. A faint, meaningful smile tugged at my lips. I'm in a police station. I'm not afraid of you. My words held a deeper meaning. Suwanli understood. At this moment, even if the Zhao family doesn't back me up, we must still expose all of Li Qian's actions. She looked at the boy sitting on the bench, unable to tell exactly why. She suddenly said, As long as I'm here, no one can bully you. Those words swiftly warmed my heart. Actually, I understand very well. Under absolute power, even here, there can never be complete fairness. But so what? I'm not the original owner of this body. I have no expectations for these people. I just didn't expect Suwanli would stand by me unconditionally. At this moment, Zhao Jingyan and Zhao Ruoyo snapped out of it. The two of them looked a bit embarrassed. How come I, as her older sister, am still here, and you're still trying to threaten her? Zhao Jingyan was the first to come back to his senses. Li Qian and Madame Li quickly restrained themselves. Give the evidence to second sister. I'll handle the police. Zhao Ruoyo suppressed the complicated feelings in her heart, then turned and tried to speak to me as gently as possible. Seeing the three of them like that, for a moment I couldn't figure out what kind of medicine they had taken to change their attitude toward me so drastically. Even Suwanli couldn't understand. At least she and I are in a relationship now. But what are Zhao Qingyun and Zhao Ruoyo after? Seeing that I didn't move, Zhao Ruoyo opened her mouth several times, but didn't know what to say. Madame Li, standing on the side, began to get anxious. She was really afraid I'd show the video, so she used Li Qian's hospital and checkups as an excuse, trying to leave first. What's the rush? She doesn't look like she's in a hurry at all. The presence of Su Wanli completely cut off Madame Li's escape route. If it were only the Zhao family, given the Li family's influence in Beijing and their power, she'd still have some confidence. But now with Su Wanli here, from the top-ranking Su family in the Golden Circle, she didn't dare to go head-to-head. I looked at my second sister in front of me, and after a moment's hesitation, I handed her my phone. Zhao Ruoyo opened the video from the photo album. In an instant, the cries for help and begging from the boy rang out, followed by the wild laughter and insults of the bullies led by Li Qian. Drown out the boy's voice. Zhao Qingyun leaned in closer. Even though the video was dimly lit, it was still clear enough to see the helpless boy being bullied by that group of people. Su Wanli closed her eyes, trying her best to suppress the emotions surging inside. Suddenly, hearing those sounds, I felt a sudden wave of nausea in my stomach. And right after that, my vision started to blur. What's wrong with you? Su Wanli was the one who first noticed something was off with me, but before she could get close, I forcefully pushed her away and ran toward the restroom as fast as I could. I'll go check on her. You all stay here and handle this, Su Wanli said to Zhao Qingyun and the others, then immediately chased after me. I rushed into the restroom. Half of my body was leaning over the sink, dry heaving nonstop. There was a force inside my body tearing at me, as if it was trying to push me out of this body.